Yes, he ran the floor, made himself available, and got him organized and drilled it.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Made a great move to the hoop.
That's what they do, get your head turned.
Wilson speeds it up now to Apaji, and he's got another three.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Love, top of the key.
Oh! Big time delivery.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Nice slip.
McCormick left alone. He's not missing the dunk this time. And a timeout called by Villanova.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome in, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We've got Flo Thamba coming up in just a few minutes here on Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. Smokey off today. We'll see him back tomorrow. And, of course, Wednesday is our second anniversary show. Faith, Emery, Armstrong. I ran Jack into the studio earlier, but he'll be back. So that's what's going on right now. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Final Four weekend in the championship tonight, Kansas and North Carolina. Craig, we got two interesting games. Kansas wire to wire dominated really most of the game against Villanova, and then one of the best basketball games in the world, which you'll hear from Armstrong in a second. He was there. UNC and Duke on Saturday night.
Yeah, we got the Blue Blood final, and it was a great weekend of basketball. Felt like Duke and North Carolina. For all of the hype going into that one, I mean, it was talked about so often every day last week. That was the focus. That was the main game that everybody was talking about, and rightfully so. I mean, it's rare to have things as hyped up as that one was, and it to actually come close to living up to all that buzz. But kudos to both teams because they were able to do that. Not only lived up to it, but I think it probably – by the end of it, surpassed it. And if you're a North Carolina fan, I mean, you've got forever bragging rights on Coach K, and that will now never change. I mean, he's not going to pop back up all of a sudden. So, to be able to be the first team to defeat him when he was the coach, and then first team to do this, but now the last team to beat him is pretty incredible. So last game in Cameron, they won that one as well. So North Carolina, what a season for them, and tonight it can get even better. But it's going to be a tough one because Kansas looked really good, taking care of their business and booking themselves a spot in this championship game.
So I would imagine that the win in Cameron Indoor kind of felt like winning the lottery. Like nothing's going to top that feeling, the once-in-a-lifetime feeling again. Beating them on Coach K Day and then beating them again to eliminate them and end his career, legitimately end his career, has to feel like winning the lottery, meeting your celebrity idol, and getting said yes to on a wedding proposal all in one day. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's a great run. I think a lot of people are blowing the Cameron Indoor win a little out of proportion in comparison. I mean, this win was way bigger, not even close to being, on the same level, in my opinion. I mean, they won the final home game at his home arena. Okay, that was cool. That was great. It's a fun mark. But, now it's a footnote because the game that they just won is the big one. I mean, that's the one where his career is over. Not, he's still going to coach. He's just not going to be coaching, in Cameron anymore. Or, you stopped him from winning a national title and going out with the fairy tale ending. I mean, that's not a possibility now. I mean, so this one was far larger. The Cameron Indoor was good, but they've surpassed that by now. And it's got to feel like, maybe speaking of lotteries, if you're a North Carolina fan, now might be a good time to go and buy a lottery ticket because everything seems to be coming up Carolina blue. But there's another team in a shade of blue tonight that's going to be looking to derail that, and they'll have a good chance to because Kansas is very, very good, and they are really clicking on all cylinders right now. But you couldn't have really scripted it any better for North Carolina fans, especially the last 5 weeks or so.
No, absolutely not. And I'm looking here, Craig, and our next guest, Flo Thamba, will have a unique, and we'll ask him about this at the end, but he is coming back to play at Baylor and exercising his fifth year of eligibility. But I think if I'm looking at this right, and I've looked twice today, and forgive me if I got a little cross-eyed, but I think that Baylor is the only common opponent between these two teams. So the only people who can really speak to, kind of this unique experience of playing both of them are Baylor. So are Baylor players.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. So Flo will be able to give us some interesting insight on that. I didn't realize that nor go looking for that, but that's cool that Baylor's the only team to play both of them and played both of them relatively recently. So, be interested to talk to him, and I think we're about to.
We are now joined by Flo Thamba, Baylor Bear for another year, exercising his 5th year of eligibility. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak here on SicEm 365 Radio. Flo, thank you so much for joining us. And what's this feeling like to kind of made your decision and be ready on the track to come back and play another year here in Waco?
I'm excited, looking forward to it. It was a hard decision to make. But obviously sitting down with my family and the coaching staff and everybody kind of came to a consensus. But I'm just looking forward to it and just going out there and playing basketball again for sure.
Flo, you talk about the tough decision. I mean, what was that decision-making like? Did you just lean on family and coaches? Did you kind of sit to yourself? How'd you go about doing all that?
It's kind of a mixture of everything. Just, sitting by myself, thinking about everything. Also, specifically, the biggest picture was also academics. That played a huge role into it. So, just having family around me kind of helped me come to a consensus decision about the best being for me was coming back. So, yeah.
Flo, how do you feel your game has changed and improved as you've been, forced by injuries or just growing into different roles on this team?
My game has grown throughout the past years. Obviously, supposed to give credit to Charlie and getting my body right, to be the physical presence I'm able to be when I play on the court. But, as the years went past, better has always been the defensive side, but offensively, I'm kind of starting to extend my role a little bit. But overall, my game has grown a lot.
Flo, what's it been like to kind of have to sit back these last couple of weeks and watch teams continue playing on? And tonight, obviously, the season will come to a close. You guys have faced both of these teams, but, what's that like after winning the title last year and now coming up short and having to kind of look around and watch everybody else?
It's kind of a retrospect, when I look at it last year, it was an amazing feeling winning it all, but this year just gives them more perspective of how hard it is to actually win it all. But we were just fortunate and blessed to have the opportunity to win it, and hopefully we look forward to doing something similar next season.
One of the questions when Jonathan went out was, is Flo going to be ready for the extra minutes, the extra different role? Or the thing was, and you answered it within a game. You were ready to go. In fact, within the game that Jonathan got hurt, you answered those questions. Was that something that you were kind of waiting and ready to be called on your opportunity to score more, to play more minutes and all that?
I've always felt myself being prepared, even prior to the injury. I was always ready. For me, it was just a matter of uplifting my brothers and just being out there and being the best leader possible. So, that was kind of my focus.
Flo, the game tonight, Kansas and North Carolina. You just played North Carolina a couple weeks ago. Obviously saw Kansas a few times. Do you have any thoughts on just the matchup we're going to see?
It's a great matchup, especially on the interior, with Armando and Armando Baycott and McCormack. So, basically play those guys back in high school. I'm just excited to see the matchup, but obviously I'll be rooting for the Big 12 side of things. So, but it should be a fun one.
So you go even further back with those guys.
Yeah, we go further back. We go basically AU period of time. We all play team loaded. So it's been some time, but I basically know everybody. So it's just fun, man. It's just fun to see everybody play on the highest level as possible and have an opportunity to win a national championship.
So, Flo, what are you looking forward most to being back for another year? What's kind of top of mind for you? Not only just being back with the team, obviously, there's been some changes, but just kind of what's exciting to you about being back for another year?
For me, I'm just looking forward to another opportunity to grow. Be a better leader. Be better, like as far as skill wise, and improving that. Just a lot of stuff, but the biggest aspect too is just the family environment. Coming back with my guys, especially the guys who are coming back. Just to have that another year of familiarity and spending time together with my brothers. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
You got some young guys, some guys that were injured this year, like Langston, that didn't get to play. You got some young guys coming up. As now you're kind of the resident old man, Flo. Do you take on the big brother role as people come in?
Kind of. But I mean, I kind of took on the same role this year, but with Jeremy and Kendall. But I mean, it isn't really much change, but it's a family environment, family atmosphere, and all the new guys coming in, they should embrace it, and it's going to be fun. It's definitely going to be fun.
Flo, obviously, Kendall made his decision last week. He's going to be going to the NBA draft. You got to see him, obviously, for the last few months to a year, up close and personal. Got to watch him and get to know him a little bit. What are your thoughts on the journey that Kendall's about to go on?
I mean, it's a journey that I'm looking forward to see him just go out there in a professional world and show his talents and ability to do stuff. But one of the most underrated aspects of Kendall is just how much of a team guy he is, and like you don't really get to see that much on TV, but he's the guy who buys into like what's offered in front of him. So I mean, just spending the whole year with him was fun, and we enjoyed seeing his leadership out there on the court. That was fun. We're definitely going to miss that for next year, but I mean, I just wish him ultimately all the best.
How did Coach Drew react when you told him you had made your final decision?
I mean, he was happy. We had a long conversation. Actually lasted a couple hours, but it was fun. I mean, he was happy. Just especially having somebody back who knows the system, knows the culture, and knows how everything should run. So he was definitely really excited.
Flo, obviously things are going to be a little bit different next year. Coach Tang going off to Kansas State, so now you're going to be staring across the sideline from him as opposed to being on the same one. I know everybody's very happy for him, but just what was the kind of impact that Jerome Tang had on you, and what do you think about the opportunity that he now has in front of him?
I mean, he's a hardworking man. Been in the program for a very long time. And, an opportunity knocked, and, it was an opportunity of a lifetime that he had that prepared him throughout his entire time at Baylor. So obviously, me and him, his relationship has always been solid. I mean, him being a big man coach, prepared me in many various different ways. But I mean, I'm just looking forward to being on the opposite side and, compete against him. So it should definitely be fun.
And to that, you've got Alvin Brooks and John Jacobs and Jared Nunes all moving up. How excited are you for those guys?
I mean, I'm really excited for them too. It's just an opportunity, like saying similar with me, where I had the opportunity to step up and show my ability to perform on the court. It's similar going to be the same situation with them, just stepping up into bigger roles, and I'm looking forward to it. It's exciting.
Is it going to be kind of weird not having Tweety Carter out there like practicing, going up against you guys on occasion?
It's going to be a little weird, but I mean, one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to is just how he's going to help us with his knowledge and understanding of the game. Too is very smart, especially him playing the point guard position, and I'm going to feed a lot off him understanding of how I should position myself, how I should play better, just giving a better perspective from a point guard to a big man. Just pick his brain a little bit more. So I'm definitely looking forward to that relationship aspect of things.
Outside of basketball, the last month has got to have been pretty fun for you. I think a lot of people may not be able to relate to not being able to see your family for years because you're so far apart in the world from them physically. But to get to spend the time with your sister, your parents, everybody who got to come and see you, what's this month been like?
It's been good. It's basically been a family reunion. I'm expecting more family to come through in May, but I mean it's been good. It's different. It's different. I mean I've been alone for the longest time, but it's definitely good. It feels good, and even just going out shopping with them and just doing certain activities together. Speaking a little bit more French here and there. So it's definitely a different feeling, but it's definitely much appreciated for sure.
Have you become like a Texas tour guide to them? Do you take them? Where do you take them?
I mean, we just go everywhere. I mean, obviously being out of the city a lot, going to Dallas, Houston, and, just kind of explore Texas a little bit. But as far as in Waco, we just, drive around and go to the Brazos and just be all over the city, basically. But for me, it's just more so the camaraderie and time together. That's definitely the most special part about it all.
So it's been a little while now, but what were their thoughts when they got to see you play there for the first time in such a long time?
I mean, for them, they were really excited. I guess they never really understood the grandeur of college basketball. I mean, they just, I played basketball. And just for them to just be on the sideline in front of like 10,000 fans and more, so it was just kind of like, wow, like this is actually a big deal. So just seeing the eyes lit up and just being supportive on the side was really appreciated. So, sure.
Yeah, I was wondering because, they show them and they're sitting there eating popcorn. They got 10,000 people in the arena. I'm like, dang, that's a heck of a way to get introduced back to what your son's been doing. I mean, that's got to be pretty impressive. So I thought that was very cool and obviously very cool they could come. So,
yeah, most definitely was. I mean, my mom was just shocked and surprised, but obviously her big thing was just my safety on the court because she couldn't handle me taking all the bumps and falls. She was kind of scared about that, but my dad kept calming her down that it's okay, it's what he does. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, that's probably never going to change, Flo. So no matter what, you could be sitting in the kitchen and nick your finger cutting a piece of meat. Believe me, she'll still be concerned. That's what moms do. Well, Flo, congratulations on making your decision. So happy that you're coming back for another year. Congratulations. Enjoy the short off season that you guys do have before you got to get back and grind you to work, and enjoy all the family you've got coming through the Lone Star State for the next couple of months.
For sure. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
It's Flo Thamba here with us on Sikkim 365 Radio 365 Sports. Really, that's huge. And you heard it, he said that the match was going to be between Baycott and McCormick, and I think that's true, Craig. I mean, he's seen them both. He's the one guy in the country who's defended both those guys. This year, at least. Yeah,
this year. But obviously, there's probably some other guys out there with all the connections they have, like he mentioned, that they played in AAU ball and things like that. But yeah, I'm actually, I know we'll talk plenty about the game, but I was actually more interested in his parents and just kind of what they must have thought. I mean, I don't know their situation back home, but to show up and my son plays college basketball. And I'm sure they can watch it on TV on occasion, perhaps. I don't even know.
On the internet or something.
Yeah, so you figure something, but I don't know, watching on TV when you get one viewpoint the entire time versus walking into the Dickies Arena and, they got concession stands nicer than, a lot of towns, quite frankly. And, just walk in there and have, beautiful seats in this arena and just the whole spectacle of it with the introductions and all that stuff. I mean, that had to be like sensory overload, I would think, when you haven't seen a game, at that level ever for your son. So I was very curious about that. And, that's really cool that they had that opportunity, and it's cool that they're still sticking around. Although Flo sounds like, parents have been around long enough, kind of get that sense of. And I can imagine when you're not around them that long, and all of a sudden you're around them, it's got to be kind of strange but fun. So, good on Flo. He had a great year, and obviously had a decision to make, and that decision leads him back to Waco for another year, which is huge for Scott Drew and this staff. So. The roster's, taking shape. We're starting to get a better idea. Still need to know what Matthew Meyer's going to do, and I guess Jeremy Sohan still hasn't announced either, so we don't know on him. But you've lost Akinjo and Brown. You've got Flo coming back, and we'll see how the rest of it works out. But good on that. Good on that young man.
Yeah, I look, just from personal experience, I kind of get what he's saying. I lived apart from my family for 7 years. When they moved here and I was in Florida, and I saw them on occasion. It's not like him, who didn't see them at all. I mean, like, it's not like you just jump on a plane from Africa and hop in for the weekend. But, I'd see my parents. They'd come to Florida. I'd come here. But when I moved back here, like, it was about 3 weeks before I was like, geez, guys, do you have anything else to do? Like, do you have anything else to do? Like, and so I get it. You get a little like, wow, you get used to being alone. But I'm sure, again, he's thrilled that they're back here. We'll take a break right here. When we come back, Armstrong Sims will tell us what the Final Four was like from his perspective. He was there in the Superdome on Saturday night. He's back here. He's wearing a North Carolina jersey. I don't know whose jersey he's wearing.
This is Justin Jackson.
Wow, that's a throw. That's a different one. I thought you had a Psycho T.
No. This is got a 2017 national champion Final Four MVP. So trying to keep the good luck rolling from the last time Carolina was in the Final Four.
Okay, well, Armstrong, you know that we are adversaries tonight. for my own personal well-being.
I do know that, yeah.
For my own personal well-being, we are adversaries. But when we come back, we'll talk with Armstrong about his experience in the Final Four, plus break down what we saw on Saturday night. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels. The new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab has all the quality for work or play. Impressive towing capabilities, heavy-duty payload capacity, smooth ride, and an interior design is why Ram is the first truck ever to win #1 overall in initial quality according to J.D. Power. When looking for a truck that can do it all, come see the possibilities. First responders get a $500 discount. Shop AllenSamuelsDCJ.com or come in and see the huge selection of brand new cars and trucks.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Welcome back, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. In 5 minutes, we'll have Adam Lucas. And he'll talk Tar Heels with us. And but you know, we do have. I mean, he was at the Final Four. But Craig, we sent Armstrong courtesy of none of our money, but his parents' money.
Yeah,
and him.
I was not sent.
But to get the fan perspective of the Final Four, let's start with the first game, Armstrong, because I'm curious when you are a fan of, and I've been to a couple Final Fours, but I've not, other than covering Baylor and just being there, I haven't had dog in the hunt. Like the one that was in Dallas, I had no dog in the hunt other than I wanted Florida to lose. That was it. And that happened, so it was good. But sitting and waiting, watching a game, it was a pretty good game other than the fact that it was wire to wire, Kansas on top. There were good parts of that game, but what was it like sitting there and watching that first game, waiting for the biggest UNC Duke game ever?
Yeah, that was crazy because I was in the North Carolina section. Obviously, the Duke section was right next to us, and that's the most nervous group of human beings I've ever seen in my entire life. That, no one was sitting still; everyone was just milling around, not really paying attention. I will say, from the Final Fours I've seen and been to, being the second game is very preferable because it kind of eases you into it. Mm-hmm. So everyone was just kind of watching the Kansas game, and all the North Carolina fans were cheering for Kansas, because they don't like Villanova because of 2016, and then everyone likes Kansas because of Roy Williams. So the Carolina fans were cheering for Kansas, but no one was really that into it. The game, however, specifically, Kansas just so good, so dominant inside. That was just incredible to watch, and they were shooting the lights out, which I'm maybe wrong, but that's something I really have. I don't remember a lot of just Kansas shooting the lights out this season. So if they can do that tonight, if they can continue that, I think that they're going to run away with it. If they don't, then I think we're going to have a game for sure. But that first game, it was just everyone was kind of looking at each other and giving Kansas is probably going to win it all. That was the feeling of okay, the next game probably is just kind of who cares, that kind of thing. But then, so that was the first game.
Yeah. So now take us through your emotions of the second game, which was, it was never distant. 6-8 points at times, but one team would go on a run, another team would respond with a run. It was one of the best basketball games that I've ever watched on TV, and being there and 72,000 fans almost had to be unbelievable.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. My view was not great. I was way back underneath and kind of at this really bad angle, but you could still see what was going on, and just the atmosphere was incredible. It was, y'all were talking earlier about Coach K's last game. I think even Coach K, it being Coach K's last game was almost even a side note. Just the fact that it was the first time Carolina Duke ever met in the Final Four, or in the NCAA tournament. It was in the Final Four. This is the biggest game in the rivalry's history. So just having all of that, the Coach K thing was just kind of on top. But, those people were writing emotions like you have never seen before in your life. And after the game, tears were flowing. There were Carolina fans crying, hugging random strangers, just overflowing with emotion of what they had just seen. There was a point in the game, Craig, I don't know if you remember or how closely you paid attention to it, that Duke went up 7 coming out of the half. And then Carolina went on a 13-0 run. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of it felt like Carolina went on that run, and then from it kind of, the atmosphere in the whole stadium kind of flipped at that point. Because until then, it had kind of been 50-50. Duke went up, and Duke fans were feeling themselves. And then when Carolina went on that run, kind of the Duke fans were kind of quiet the rest of the game, which was very interesting because they were not out of it at all.
No, it was a crazy game of ebbs and flows, and just never really felt confident. I think if you were either team that you were just gonna run away with this thing. But Carolina kept fighting. That did seem like kind of a point in the game where Duke fans sort of relented of this is going to be a lot more difficult than just a storybook ending of, hey, we're going to go win this easily and Coach K is going to have his big moment and we're going to go dancing off into the championship. I thought the emotions in play just from the outside looking in on TV, pretty, all the tears and stuff you're mentioning. Yeah. That was as interesting as the game was awesome, but just taking in all of the extracurricular, I think, was one of the more unique aspects of that game, from crying fans on both sides, tears of joy, tears of sadness, just the no shaking hands at the end of the game. Like there's so many just little different, things to pick up on and to take note of throughout. But the game itself was just phenomenal. Couldn't have drawn it up any better. And, there's a lot of questions about, the emotions going in. Could you sense anybody hyperventilating, like the players, just the pressure that was on their shoulders? Because it was very clear early. Like, they definitely been watching TV and listening to the radio, and they were not at all able to just treat this like another game.
No, yeah. I think there was a general feeling among the UNC fans of, we don't think we're going to win this game, which just made the victory so much unbelievably better. Because I don't think any UNC fan thought, oh my gosh, we had that moment at Coach K, and then the worst night, like Coach K's last night, and then the worst nightmare comes to pass, and you're just like, there's no way they're going to be able to get up. But I just think Caleb Love's confidence is like, gets him into trouble sometimes, but right then, that's when you need it. Like that guy, Caleb Love, is so unbelievably, ridiculously confident in himself that you're just like, you're in like the biggest stage, the biggest game of your school's history, and Caleb Love was just like, oh yeah, I'll just step back, take this three, whatever.
Yeah, his free throws at the end of the game might have been one of the most impressive free throws I've ever seen in my life. I mean, honestly, the chance to seal the game away with all that was riding on that, and just the pressure of that, and just being a younger cat in front of the entire basketball world, stepping in the free throw line with a chance to kill off Coach K, and he walked up there and just sank him like it was nothing. Like it was absolutely nothing to him. It was like a first quarter or a first half, free throw 5 minutes in. He treated it just like that, and that young man's cold-blooded. I mean, not everything worked. Sometimes you're kind of like settled down a little bit, but he was fantastic, and that's what's going to stick with me. I mean, there's a lot of different plays that'll stick with me, but him just calmly going to the free throw line at the very end of that game and just sinking those shots was just like, that is so cold-blooded. That was incredible.
And after nailing that three. That unbelievable three he hit, the top of the key. I'm going to wait for Adam Lucas to call us back, by the way. So I know it's a busy day for him, but it was a remarkable game. And I thought both of them were very interesting and kind of provides us hopefully some insight into tonight. But I mean, every game is different, because you got to wonder, if you're North Carolina, can you match that emotion again? Can you do what you did? Because, as excited as you may be to play for a national title and play against another blue blood in Kansas, are you going to ever be as excited as you would be to play Duke again?
Yeah, no, that's one thing I will say is there was a feeling of after the game when we stayed. Carolina fans just stayed in the stands for literally an hour, just didn't know what to do, which was interesting. And then we went back to the team hotel, watched the team come in, and then just kind of milled around. And there was a general feeling of Monday night doesn't really matter.
Yes, it does.
That was bigger than that felt bigger than the 2017 national championship game. But the thing I think that has served Carolina very well is the team's mentality is different from the fans.
Yeah.
Because this team clearly did not I'm sure they felt it, but they stared down that game, that moment in the face, and they wanted it.
Yeah.
They wanted to be there. They wanted the fight. And so, I think they're going to go. I think that this team is going to just put that behind them. I was going to be able to put that behind them and just kind of, okay, we're playing for a national championship now.
Yeah.
You better hope so, because, man, I can definitely see them just having a half tank, tonight after what we saw on Saturday. I mean, Kansas just breezed through Villanova. That was not too much of an issue, and they're still somehow under the radar. I don't know. It's weird. Last Friday, or I guess last Thursday, I went here on Friday, I was talking about, I felt like Kansas is the team that's going to go win it, and still feel that way, even with the results this weekend. But it does seem like they're just kind of doing it, and people are like, oh, yeah, they're good, but But look over here. Look at Duke and North Carolina, and I do wonder tonight. I mean, I think it should be a great game, but if I have any fear, it's that Kansas is, just walking this path of not having to deal with too much, and meanwhile North Carolina's coming off like one of the biggest games in the entire history of the school and a history of college basketball, and thankfully didn't hyperventilate with all of the cameras and attention and pressure and everything like that. But I can imagine that had to be quite the energy dump on Saturday night, and you had to have felt it a little bit yesterday for sure. So, I'm just hoping that, that's not something that impedes them at all tonight, and they can kind of just put that behind them. But it also feels like that's going to be kind of difficult to do. But then again, maybe not, because, after all, you are playing for a national title, and as much as everybody slobbers all over Coach K, the national title is way, way, way bigger than beating Coach K in some game to get there. Give me the national title over, I know some North Carolina fans would rather probably have bragging rights over Coach K than we win a title, and that's fine. But outsider's perspective, tonight's the game that matters the most. Tonight's game is the one that matters. 100 years from now.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the mentality of the team. Hubert Davis said in his press conference, he was talking about how that was an amazing game, but we're not going to hang a banner in the stadium about that game.
Exactly. Yeah.
We want to hang a banner.
He has, and like that's probably been his got on the butt. Like he said, I'm going to let him celebrate tonight.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Sunday morning at breakfast, he's like, it's over.
Yeah.
You got Kansas as a good team. Kansas is really good at controlling the pace when they want to. And Kansas, part of the reason they're under the radar is their round of 32 and their Sweet 16 game, at least the first half of their Sweet 16 game, Sweet 16 game, and then the first half of their Elite Eight game, they weren't very good. I mean, they didn't look very together. Ochai Agbaji and Christian Brown were kind of, in and out, and Agbaji in particular, who's a Naismith candidate, didn't play well in those games. And then the second half of the Miami game, they woke up huge. And, the bad news for everybody who would have to play them is that Kansas finally realized, oh my God, we've not been playing well. Let's go run at our pace. They ran at their pace in the second half against Miami for the entire time against Villanova, who could not match it. And, if I knew, you kind of knew they were going to win if Ochai Agbaji makes a three on his first shot and then on his second shot, I don't know what Villanova's going to do about that, because clearly he's locked in from the beginning. Yeah. He's going to have to warm up. If you look at all the games that Kansas has either lost or struggled in this year, it's when Ochai Agbaji starts out slow. And he started out hot, and they didn't struggle in that game. Something that was said at the end of that telecast, and I'll try Adam Lucas here in the next segment, but it's interesting, Craig, and I wanted your opinion on this, because compared to a lot of coach speak that we hear, Bill Self was asked about, is it time for you to start actually winning some of these championships, since it's been since 2008? And he, and I respect this much more than anybody else on the other side of this, he said, yes, absolutely. We have to start winning some of these championships. And some of these Final Fours we're in, Kansas has to start winning. And I thought about the first thing I thought about, Craig, was Matt Campbell. And that wasn't my goal. It's all about the kids and good grades and hard work and blah, blah, blah. I thought about John Calipari going, well, it's national championships are never really the overall goal of a season. And I thought, bull crap. If you are North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas, now Baylor, a lot of other schools, Gonzaga, if you're Gonzaga, the national championship is your only goal now. It's it. You've done everything else, but you haven't won the national championship. So Baylor won a national championship. Now it's kind of their only real goal, because now you've tasted it and you can do it. For Bill Self to be one of the coaches who avoided coach speak and said, yeah, we're trying to win championships here, was very refreshing to me.
I mean, it's just stating the obvious.
Yeah.
Everybody else wants to play these little games talking about, oh, this is about this or about. No, it's about winning titles. That's what it's about. It's about forming young men and women, and helping them grow and helping them become responsible adults. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we college fans don't know about or don't pay attention to. And yes, all of that. Like an administrator says, oh, it's bigger than a tournament. Yeah, you're absolutely right that it is. But for these basketball coaches, yes, it's also bigger for him to make sure that Ochai Agbaji goes off and has a tremendous professional career and, is a valuable alum and is a good person and all of that. But, we're not talking about that on SportsCenter. We're not talking about that on any of these debate shows. We're not talking about the merits of the student athlete as a person. No, we're talking about, did you win or not? Did you win or not? And so for these guys, yeah, it's about winning. Like, you can put out all the great people you want to, but ultimately, when the Board of Regents get together and they're deciding on your contract, they're not counting all of your scholar athletes. They're counting how many games have you won? How many times have you beaten your rival? How many championships have you won? And so, yeah, that's what it's about. I mean, so for Bill Self, I'm glad that he said that, because he's just, saying the truth. And anybody that's, like the Matt Campbell stuff, I know what he was trying to say, and I'm not going to continue bagging on him for that, but he was just so dumb at the time. Like, it really was. It's like, dude, this is the most hyped up football team in the history of your entire school, and you did not live up to expectations. And instead of just saying, yeah, we didn't live up to expectations, you tried to polish it up and make it look shiny and fine because you guys had a good time along the way. It's like, spare me, dude. Come on. Like, just admit it. Everybody knows that we've all watched you. We all know you didn't live up to expectations. Just say you didn't live up to expectations. Don't try to spin the everybody had a good time card. So, yeah, that's what it's about. And Bill Self knows the deal. And yeah, just this super obvious, honest thing to say. And I'm glad that he went that route rather than, trying to, we had the record GPA that, coach, you're playing North Carolina for a national championship. Like, we don't care about your GPA or about, any of that stuff. So, yeah, that's what it's about. And whoever doesn't win tonight, I'm sure they'll both feel like they had great seasons, but it's going to be disappointing because what do you want at the end? You want the trophy. You want the championship. And only one of them is going to get it later on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're taking a break right here. I'll try to touch base with Adam Lucas in the break and get him on. We've got Matt Tate at 4 o'clock giving us the Kansas perspective. We've already had Flo Thamba. We're going to play the interview with Josh White that Grayson did this weekend. He's potentially a transfer from LSU that's committing to Baylor, and his decision hopefully will come soon so that everybody can know. But we're going to play that because we'll play that at 5 o'clock, and we have David Hellman at 5:30. Plus, I want to get into the chat after Matt Tate, into the chat, into the text, into the calls, and see how our listeners and viewers feel about the game tonight in New Orleans between Kansas and North Carolina. So give us a text, give us a call, 254-339-1122 at about 4:30. But next up, we'll try to touch base with Adam Lucas of GoHeels.com. This is Sick'em 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Cars priced right both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, back here on Sikkim 365 Radio, tail end of hour number one. Paul, Catalina, efforting our next guest to talk about tonight's national championship game. Big 12 can make it 2 titles in a row after Baylor last year with Kansas. Now in a position to grab another one against 8-seeded North Carolina. But UNC going to have something to say about that. Paul, we ready here?
We are. Adam Lucas, GoHeels.com, joins us once again from New Orleans. Adam, what was that game like for you, a person who's been around UNC for a very long time, to watch the other night? Especially, we talked to you after the Coach K game. Most North Carolina fans think you couldn't top it, but topped it 100 times over on Saturday night.
Definitely turns out that it could be topped. Don't think anyone anticipated it. I've never seen a reaction like that one in the stands at a game, and that includes any championship game I've ever been to. Just so many emotions going into those final seconds, and then the immediate aftermath. And man, I don't know if the Tar Heel players will have anything left, but I would be stunned if Tar Heel fans have anything left after Saturday night.
Do you have anything that you can even compare it to?
No.
Yeah, I figured.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I think it was most similar to the on-court reaction from the players in 17, the guys who had been part of the 16 team and then had that whole year to try to come back and win it again. They were very, very emotional after beating Gonzaga for the national championship. But this was 5,000 or 6,000 Carolina fans who have lived with Duke for decades in some cases and have been thinking about this game for an entire week. And it just all came out at the end. I've never seen that range of emotions really at any sort of event, much less a sporting event. Just anything I've ever seen. I have not seen anything like that.
From the Pitt game on, when did this team go to believe that they can do what they've been doing?
I think they started to believe it there after the Duke game in Chapel Hill. I mean, they really got outplayed in that game, but then they started to play a little better. They made some X's and O's adjustments that really helped, and they got some good results from those adjustments and just became a very different team. If you go back and look at the film of the games in Connecticut, for example, at the beginning of the season and compare it to the film now, that looks like two different basketball teams, not only in personnel because you're missing a couple people, but also in just what they're running and how they're trying to score and how they're playing defense. And that's a credit to Hubert Davis and his coaching staff for adjusting to what was available to them.
Adam, just a few minutes ago, we were talking a little bit about the game and the, there's big shots that you can point to, but I was just thinking of Caleb Love there with the free throws at the end and what a moment that was and the amount of pressure in that situation to, basically the free throws to kill off Coach K's career and advance to a national championship game. And he just walked up there like it was, him in the open gym and just sank him like it was nothing, and obviously made some other plays. Can you just, kind of discuss the impactfulness of Caleb Love the other night and also, what he potentially can do tonight to help their efforts?
Yeah, well, that game was sort of the whole Caleb Love experience because he missed his first 5, and some of them weren't very good shots. Mm-hmm. But then at the end, he made the incredible three-pointer over Mark Williams, which was the textbook, good shot, Caleb kind of shot. And then, as you said, walked up and made the free throws. We talked to Theo Pinson a little bit earlier this week, and I thought he described Caleb really well as a guy who has no idea if he's 0 for 8 or 8 for 8. That he's got the same exact level of confidence every time he lets the ball go. And that's the guy you need taking those shots late in a game like that. I don't know if he even knew how much time there was on the clock. I think he was probably just excited to be there. So that's the guy you need. And Carolina's going to need him to be really good tonight, not just scoring, but also handling the ball. Carolina turned it over too many times against Duke, and you're not going to be able to do that against the Kansas team that's really good in transition. You can't give them those live ball turnovers. So Carolina's going to need him to be even better tonight.
What is the status of Armando Bacot's ankle?
He's definitely in some pain. It was an ankle injury, as everybody knows, and he was not able to do a ton at practice yesterday. He was there and he participated, but I'm not sure he would have had a double-double yesterday. So they've been trying to get him some treatment, try to get him ready for tonight, and see what he can do.
Do they have? I know that they're plus 33 with him on the floor in the tournament. With him off the floor, they're minus 80. So it shows how important he is. Have they worked on, does Brady Manick move around a little bit if he has to sit out for longer stretches, be it foul trouble or just, they got to make sure he's ready to go in the second half, maybe more than the first?
Yeah, I don't think there is a plan B. And as you saw the other night, if you try to limit him in the first half, Kansas may be up by 20 before you get to halftime, just like they did to Villanova. So I think you just have to get what you can out of him. Carolina doesn't have another big guy. Dawson Garcia decided to head home. So he would have been plan B. You can't really put Brady Manick down there because you need him out around the three-point line where he's so effective. Carolina's gotten some good minutes from Puff Johnson here during the NCAA tournament. I think he would be the first Tar Heel off the bench, but he is just a completely different player than Armando Bacot. Carolina would be playing a completely different way.
People talk about hitting home runs in the transfer portal. Safe to say Brady Manick was a grand slam out of the transfer portal?
I think he's probably the most impactful transfer of that type Carolina's had, and that includes Cameron Johnson, who's having a great NBA career with the Phoenix Suns. Just a perfect fit for what Hubert Davis was trying to do on the court, but what they've found out is that he was also a perfect fit off the court, and that's the real – you just never know about that with the transfer portal because the relationship gets built so quickly. It's not like recruiting where you learn about a guy over the period of a year or more. Carolina learned about Brady Manick in legitimately 3 days. And so you really don't know what exactly you're getting. And it turned out Carolina got somebody who's helped them get all the way to the national title game.
Adam, do you think that Carolina will be comfortable in a game running back and forth with Kansas? Because it looked like they were comfortable doing it with Duke, but with Kansas in particular.
Yeah, I mean, Hubert Davis has been very complimentary of how well Kansas runs, and that's always been the book on Carolina, but I think that's less the case on this year's Carolina. They really haven't done that quite as much, and so I think Kansas will try to push the tempo and establish the tempo on the Tar Heels more than anybody Carolina's faced this year. You got a lot of teams in the ACC that would rather play in the half court. And the one team that really tried to run quite a bit this year on Carolina was Wake Forest, and that one didn't go so well. But again, that was a very different Carolina team. So, going to be a different style of game than what Carolina's seen here recently.
Do you think that the compared to the fans, I mean, neither team's going to have as much energy as they did on Saturday because they had to play, but Carolina maybe more so because of the emotions and the way that game was back and forth, and Kansas was in control. But does the team view these things the same way the fans do?
I think less so, because a lot of these guys didn't grow up with the whole Duke thing the way Carolina fans did. They've sort of grown into it here since their time on campus. So it's not quite as impactful to them. But, I mean, they're capable of reading the body language just as much. And you saw the on-court celebration on Saturday. It clearly meant a ton to them. So to get it all back together and get back to that emotional peak again is something that is just tough for humans to do, no matter who they are. But that being said, this is just the 12th team in Carolina basketball history that's had the chance to play in a national championship game. And that list includes a lot of teams that didn't, that had a lot of very, very good players. So you've got an opportunity in front of you tonight that the large percentage of Tar Heel basketball players only wish they could have done. So to sit there and say, well, maybe they'll just be satisfied with Saturday, I just don't think that's how you get to the point that you're a Division I basketball player.
Adam, thanks a lot. We appreciate it, and we'll reach out depending on the results of tonight's game, and enjoy it. I'm sure it's going to be rowdy, and maybe everybody can get their emotions back in check by 4:30 a.m. Central Time when this game finally tips off. It feels like.
Yeah, it's the longest day in college basketball for sure.
Adam Lucas, GoHeels.com with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Always appreciate his time. Matt Tate comes up in the next segment. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma. And they have to come here. They're used to lights. They're used to water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Hodges early, smashes the three. He's got game.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio 365 Sports. Our good buddy Matt Tate from New Orleans joins us. Kansas playing for a national title. And I live with Matt, I've told you this, I live with a Jayhawk fan. She is very excited. She's nervous, confident, and not confident all at the same time. What do you think after the way that Kansas dominated Villanova for the most part in that game that most KU fans are feeling today?
Yeah, I took a poll on Twitter about that earlier this morning, and a lot of nerves, and I think that's the nature of the game, right? Like this is big. Even if you're a 12-point favorite, you still feel that. Even if it's not nervous that you might lose, you feel the anxiety of just having to sit around and wait all day, and you're excited and you're trying to work or whatever you're doing, So a lot of nerves, but I think a lot of confidence too, and I think that's probably right. I think that Kansas fans should be very confident, but you're not human if you're not nervous. But I think North Carolina is more than capable, but I think North Carolina is going to have to play a perfect game and get help, and I think Kansas, just has to go play its game. And the way they've looked so relaxed this whole week. The performance they put on Saturday night was in 20 years of covering this team. I've never seen a team look that relaxed, and for that to happen, and then them to deliver, and it to be on that type of stage, that's remarkable, man. It says a lot about these guys. So I think they'll. I'd be really shocked if they didn't have that same demeanor tonight, and I think that leads to good things. So I think your wife should be very, very excited, a little nervous, and pretty confident. Does that help?
Yes, and I'll just correct you. Girlfriend for the time being.
Sorry.
We're not there. We're not there yet, but she'll love you saying that. I'll just tell you that right now.
Well, she might propose to you tonight.
Yeah. I doubt it, but it would take a lot of pressure off of me.
Matt, does it feel like somehow Kansas has just been flying under the radar over the last month? I mean, I know they've been talked about and whatnot, and it wasn't just this last weekend with Duke and North Carolina obviously overshadowing everything else, but it just kind of seems like when, from the first round on, when people have talked about the contenders, they're always kind of and Kansas too, they're playing really well. Just kind of it's a foregone conclusion almost. I mean, that is complimentary towards them, but have they just kind of flown under the radar somewhat?
I think definitely, and I think they've loved it. I think that it's allowed them to be relaxed from the minute the brackets came out. You heard people talk about Kansas being the most vulnerable or susceptible of the one seed. Obviously, they're the only one that made it this far, so that wasn't accurate. But now none of that stuff matters. I mean, right. I think it helps you get to this point, but now it's 1 seed, 8 seed, 2 seed, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's North Carolina's 6 guys against KU's 7 guys basically tonight, and it's a head coach who's been in a whole hell of a lot of these games against a guy who hasn't. And Hubert Davis, I think, is doing an amazing job, and I think he's going to be really good at Carolina. And obviously, he's already off to a great start. But there's something about being here before, and he's been here as an assistant. No question that's valuable. But I just think it's different. I just think it's different. And so I don't really think the head coaching, I'm talking about it more than I should, because I don't think that the head coaching thing really favors one or the other either way. But I think throughout this run, for a Kansas team that's got a bunch of guys that have been dying to get here, they've been able to lean on the experience of their head coach who has been here and help them say, this is how you get there. I know how to do it. Let's do A, B, and C. And if you guys go execute, we'll be there. And so that part's done. I don't think I'd be shocked if there was some crazy, strategy X's and O's type of move that either coach makes tonight. If that happens, it's probably out of a little bit of desperation, really. I mean, it would probably be something like Self has to throw a box and one at Brady Manick because he just can't guard him straight, or something like that. And if that's the case, that's bad news for Kansas. But I don't think these coaches are going to make their money tonight. I think their money's already been made. I think now it's time for the players to go decide this thing. And I think Kansas has more players and better players.
The key matchup, I think, Matt, everybody's going to be looking is Armando Bacot from North Carolina playing on less than 100% of that ankle against David McCormick. And also, people may not realize this, but Mitch Lightfoot will get in there and mix it up and might even cause some problems because of the way that players quite often respond to Mitch and his style of play.
For sure, yeah. I mean, he won't back down. I saw Mitch the other night in pregame, and he didn't have a very good game against Villanova at all. Mm-hmm. But, he's been dealing with that sprained knee, and he told me this week he's all the way back. And then I saw him out there in the pregame warm-ups, and I've never seen the guy so bouncy. So I think that's adrenaline. I think that's the stage, and I think he's, after this many years, he's finally realized this is it for me. I've got to go. And so, just human adrenaline there flowing hard for that guy. And so if Kansas needs him in there, he's ready always. But I think if they need him in there, that's bad news. I think Armando is just so big and long, and I think it would be a really tough matchup for Mitch. He could probably survive a few minutes, like they do. But the one thing negating all of that is exactly what you talked about, which is his ankle injury. I think that's going to be hugely significant. I saw him walking in the hall the other night while I was doing an interview outside of the North Carolina locker room. And, I know that was Saturday night, but he could barely walk. And I think he went back into that game because of adrenaline, and that's, anybody that's ever been hurt and played a sport knows that can happen sometimes. But I'd imagine when he woke up yesterday, that thing was hurting and sore and stiff. And Hubert said all the right things yesterday, that the swelling was encouraging and that he felt good and that he was going to go play. And, what else are you going to say, right? But I think that we'll know pretty quick how effective he'll be. And my guess is he'll be good, but not the difference maker that he would be otherwise. I mean, I just think that ankle, he won't be as explosive on the glass, which is his calling card. Beyond that, a big reason he's so good as a rebounder is his strength and moving guys out. And when you think about trying to plant and push off that ankle over and over and over to move guys, that's way difficult to do, and especially when one of them's a guy like David McCormick, who's big and strong in his own right and leaning back on you. So I think that Armando would have absolutely had the edge head to head in that matchup if he were healthy. But I think that the injury, my guess is he's going to be at 75-80%, somewhere in there, and that's just a pure guess. But that kind of makes that a wash. Then I think that makes it a little bit more even, where Dave can match him up, and Dave can match him up and hang with him a little bit more than maybe he would have.
How much of this team's perfect game plan, and it looked to me the other night, because if you look at the games where they've either struggled or lost, Ochai Agbaji has had slow starts or kind of his rougher nights for the most part. And when he starts out hitting a three and another three and another three, is that really what this team is? I know Remy Martin was the talk of the tournament, but everybody kind of forgot Ochai was a player of the year candidate.
Yeah, I mean, if they get that tonight, they'll win by easy double digits. I just can't imagine it going quite that well. And I think that what was so beneficial about that the other night was that it then gave Dave all the room he needed because they couldn't leave Ochai, and they knew it. And so then Dave went to work and was just as effective, if not more so. In fact, I do a rankings thing after every game, who played best, 1 through whatever. And I ranked Dave ahead of Ochai in that game, even though Ochai was unconscious to start the game. But I just thought what Dave did was amazing the other night. And Ochai, delivered, and opened that up for him. So, yeah, the perfect game plan for Kansas is exactly that. I mean, get Ochai going, and if he hits his first shot, you're going to feel good about that, and get Dave going. And if he hits his first shot, you're going to feel good about that too. But really, I think their perfect game plan is something that's really fresh in their minds and they feel really good about, and that's the second half against Miami. And I know we already talked about that, but that I think was when these guys went, okay, like now we need to go win a title. Like, we were down, we played a terrible half against a good Miami team, and then we just decided to be better and to do something different, and it worked, and it didn't stop working, and now their confidence has soared, and I think they realize that nobody can keep up with them in transition if they get out like that, if they get deflections, if they get steals, if they create that kind of chaos on the defensive end, and so Kansas to me is a team that by nature of its personnel and its style and all of that, I mean, scoring points shouldn't be an issue unless you're playing a Texas Tech type of team or somebody that's just known as an absolute defensive juggernaut that you're going to have to grind, which they did all year in the Big 12, So I think when they get out of the Big 12 like they have, I think the points are a given. So I think it's, for me anyway, it's about Kansas and how well they defend. And, there's some tough matchups. The Caleb Love matchup will be tough. I mean, he's a really talented player, but I just think that Carolina plays no bench. They have no depth, and that's a lot to put on a sophomore. And Kansas has the luxury of throwing a couple of different guys at him. It's not just like Ochai has to guard Caleb Love all night. They switch 5 spots most of the time, and they can give Christian Brown a try. They can give DeJuan Harris a try. They can have Ochai try. There's even bench guys that they could bring in to give him a look, So for me, it's about Kansas not letting Love, Manic, or really the entire Carolina offense get comfortable at all. And I think if they're able to do that, especially setting the tone with that early, then I think they score the points they need and they win. I mean, I've got them winning by 12. I know that sounds like a lot, but I think that's where this is headed.
All right, we got one question for a listener, then I have one more. But he was curious on how Bill Self handles that Sunday practice between the Final Four and the championship game. Is it a hard practice? Is it immediate? I mean, how does he handle that?
Yeah, I don't think they probably went for more than 30 minutes yesterday. It was closed, so I don't know, and obviously we haven't seen him yet today. But it's just about, don't do anything to disrupt what's got you here. Keep your routine, keep your confidence, feel good, get in the gym, sweat it out a little bit just to remind you of why you're here. And then, I'm sure a lot of it's film, a lot of it's extra work there, going over the scouting report, things like that. There's no doubt that was a big part of yesterday. But as far as the actual physical practice, at that point you're ready or you're not. And I don't think there's any way that he was like, get on the line. We're going again, running these guys to death or anything crazy like that. I mean, and that's been kind of a theme. He's talked about it a few times here this week. He's been here and he has learned not just by his experiences, but also from some of the coaches that he, was mentored by. He's learned some things that, whether right or wrong, he believes are the way to handle this. And a lot of it is, get guys off their feet, keep them focused, keep them light, keep them loose. Don't make this bigger than it already is. So I'm sure that's what yesterday was about. You guys might not have seen, but Paul Pierce is down here, former KU player, obviously. And he showed up at the team hotel and talked to him for a few minutes last night. And, that stuff's really cool, and it reminds you how big this stage is. Obviously, Carolina, if they want to, can trump that by bringing Jordan down if he's coming, and he probably will be. I don't know, but why wouldn't he? So it's not like KU wins that head-to-head battle, but I think for those players, Paul Pierce is an absolute legend at all levels of basketball, and for him to stand in front of you and say, hey, you're representing guys like me. I didn't get a chance to play in this game, and all of us former alums and things like that, we pay attention to what you guys are doing, and we're damn proud of you. So go handle your business and have fun and let it fly. And I mean, like, I just don't think you can underestimate how important something like that is for 19 to 21, 22-year-old kids to hear. That's freaking Hall of Famer Paul Pierce in there telling you, I got your back, go make me proud. I mean, that's different than hearing it from your coach who's also chewed you apart all year, So it's got to be the hardest day in the history of the world to sit here and be one of these two teams and wait all day. I'm sure they would much prefer a Super Bowl kickoff time, 5 o'clock, let's get it going type of thing, because here it is 4:15 and they've still got another 4 hours. And that's got to be agonizing. I just can't imagine. I've been trying to find a way to kill time, and all I'm doing is writing about the damn thing. So it's got to be hard for those guys. But again, stay off your feet, relax, lock in, and then go do what you've done 39 times before now and go through your routine and give it your best shot. I think it's obviously going to be a lot of fun. I mean, these games are so awesome. I was here in this very building in 2012 and covered that KU Kentucky title game, and there's just nothing like it, man. And it would be cool if it was KU Butler or KU Virginia or whatever. But I mean, when you add the wrinkle of KU Kentucky then or KU Carolina now, I mean, that's pretty serious stuff right there. That's a big stage and some heavy hitters. So it'll be a wild atmosphere, and I'm sure everybody's going to be really into it on both sides. Obviously, Roy Williams is going to be there. That'll be a very cool thing. The one thing I'm wondering is, back in 2008, Roy showed up after they lost to Kansas, and he had that Jayhawk sticker slapped on his turtleneck, and he ended up wearing it for the KU Memphis game. And Carolina fans didn't love that at all, but it's a pretty iconic moment for Kansas fans, and so they loved that he was there supporting them. Obviously, he'll be pulling for Carolina tonight because, number one, that's his school and his alma mater, and he recruited most of this roster. So no question there, and he should root for Carolina. But the one that I'm curious about is, did Coach K stick around, and is he going to slap the Jayhawk sticker on because he's so upset with Carolina for ruining the end of his career the way they did? I don't think it's going to happen, but I would imagine crazier things have happened. So if Coach K, if you guys see Coach K on the broadcast with a KU sticker on, step away from your computers and your devices, because the internet will 100% break. It will be ugly.
Yes, it will. And Matt, I'm glad you brought up Coach K, because I did want to ask you, as a big basketball guy, I mean, what were your thoughts on that just whole scene the other night, Duke and North Carolina?
Incredible ending, incredible second half, incredible game. Man, really not about me at all, but I couldn't help but sit there and feel so fortunate to be there watching that. It's a historic time and something that I'll always remember. I went and listened to his press conference afterwards. In 2012, I listened to Coach Calipari give his remarks after winning his first title with Kentucky and the first of his career. And I remember thinking that was pretty neat, to be there for that and write a little about it. And then, to hear this the other night, I mean, the end of such a legendary career. Love him or hate him, you have to respect and appreciate what Coach K's done. So, in fact, I was interviewing a North Carolina assistant who's from Lawrence, grew up in Lawrence. Actually, I went to school with him. I also grew up in Lawrence. And so I was interviewing him outside of the locker room about, hey, you're in the title game now, but you're coaching against the team you grew up rooting for. Let's, get into that. And Coach K came rolling by on the golf cart on his way down to the interview room. And I guess, I don't know if it was on a CBS broadcast or if it was just somebody took video of it or whatever. But there's a video out there of me doing that interview while Coach K is rolling around, and somebody took a still shot of that, and that's cool, man. I mean, I'm certainly nobody, and I'm not too proud to tell you that that's one of the coolest pictures I'll ever have. I mean, that's a memorable thing right there. So, I know Kansas fans on some level would have loved this to be KU Duke, just to see if they could be the team that ended it. But from a matchup standpoint, I think they should be much happier with this draw and not have to worry about, losing to Duke now. So it's been a great week, a great Final Four. I think this is where it should be every year. Maybe I said that to you the other day, but I will keep banging that drum and it'll never happen. But I won't shut up about it. It's the perfect place for the Final Four every year.
Matt, thank you so much for always. We might have to call you again tomorrow, depending on what happens tonight, and just kind of get a recap of it. But thanks for always hopping on with us whenever you do. Great stuff as always, and enjoy the game tonight. I know you got 4 more hours to wait, but just keep writing articles.
It'll go fast. You got it, man. And yeah, thanks for having me. I always appreciate it, and it's fun to talk anywhere in Big 12 country. So, I've enjoyed it a lot. You guys are great, and I think it's pretty cool that the Big 12 has been on Monday night in the last 3 tournaments with Texas Tech and Baylor, of course, and then now Kansas. So a lot of Big 12 love. As you guys know, Scott Drew is the banging the drum of the hardest for the Big 12 crew, and it's pretty cool. It really is, because I do feel like as much as these guys slug it out and scratch and claw and hate each other all 18 games of that regular season, when they get here, they pull for each other. It makes them look good, and it makes the conference look good, and nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, tonight will be fun, but yeah, give me a shout anytime. I'm around.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Matt Tate, Lawrence Journal World, with us talking KU basketball. Just 4 hours from now. 4 short hours from now.
Only 4?
Only 4. 9:20 Eastern tip time. Somebody from the networks is going to have to explain to me why a television in San Bernardino, California is more important than one in New York City.
I don't know. I don't know why they cater to the West Coast.
The city the Goonies was in versus Philadelphia.
Yeah.
The 2 time zones at the game, the fans from the game, the Central and Eastern, versus,
Yeah, now you got
Yakima, Washington.
You got me thinking about that Goonies city. What city is that in Oregon? I know it's Oregon for sure, but I forget. I've looked it up before. I'm like where they had the filming location, like Astoria, Oregon, something like
Astoria,
that.
Astoria, yeah.
Astoria.
Yeah, Astoria, Oregon. More important than Lawrence tonight.
Man, I'm bad about patience sometimes. I mean, it kind of depends on what the deal is. So I can't imagine having there's nothing that I hate more than sitting and waiting. I mean, I loathe it. I loathe just sitting and waiting. So sitting there in a locker room when all you want to do is get out on that court and play basketball and play for a title and do all that, and having to just wait this, like you said, I mean, it's 4:20 in the afternoon. So they've probably been up for a good 8 hours already, just, kicking around, and they have another 4 before. That's just a long wait, man. But by the time they hit that court, they will be more than ready to go. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I can't. I mean, I know maybe it's kind of a benefit because you do play Saturday night late. You want a little bit of time before you play again on Monday. But
the only bad thing about starting at 5 would be just that it's over by 7:30, and you're just kind of like, it's only 7:30. What's to watch now? But that's my own personal
You could split the difference and say started at 7:30 and not 8:30, where people won't be falling asleep. I think the bigger concern is people will turn off their televisions that aren't engaged in it by the end of the game, and you won't have as many people watching to the end later. You might get your early numbers might be fine, but look, I lived on the East Coast for a long time in my life, and as a Red Sox fan, watching them in the World Series, or especially in the ALCS, when Red Sox Yankees, the first pitch is at 8:44 p.m., and you're like, what are you doing to me here? I'm going to be up till midnight watching this, and I got to go to work the next morning. I mean, can you bump it up to a time that's normal for us here on the East Coast? Because that's where the game is.
All right.
I'll never understand it. Somebody's going to have to, explain it to me like I'm 5. because, I don't understand. Like, you're going to lose televisions on the East Coast and gain them on the West. Does it balance out? I don't know. I don't know how it works. When we come back, want your opinion on who you got. 254-339-1122. Texas. Hit us up on the chat room. Might open up the phone lines as well. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
254-339-1122. Armstrong, go ahead and get calling up when you get a chance, and we'll take some calls if we've got them today on the show. If you want to call with your prediction for tonight's game, Kansas and North Carolina, we'll go to the board real quick. Let's see. Scotty B says he's got North Carolina by 3, which Kansas will meet a tying 3 at the buzzer. And Chris says he feels that Kansas is on a mission. Like Georgia was in football, Kansas just seems destined to win regardless of who they would play. So early on, and we can dive deeper into that, but a lot. One thing on the chat room I did not get to ask you earlier, but a couple of our viewers, Craig, went to WrestleMania in Dallas this weekend.
Nice. Yeah.
They said they had a big time. I saw David Hellman. We'll ask about. He was there. I know that you have kind of moved your wrestling fandom over to another thing, but WrestleMania is still the big event.
Yeah, it's the Super Bowl for pro wrestling, and my fandom's not at a very high peak right now. In fact, the total opposite. But I still, pay attention to what's going on. And it was impossible not to see this past weekend. I mean, when I was growing up, it was a 3-ish hour event maybe on regular pay-per-view, and now it's like 2 days. It's actually more like 3 days because they have an event on Friday too with NXT. So yeah, I mean it's like 14 hours of wrestling they did over the last 2 days, which I think it'd be cool to be there in person. I also think that would be like a really long, like I would probably go insane being stuck in Jerry's World for 7 hours. That's where it kind of makes me it gives me anxiety. But no, I mean, based on on everything, I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin came back and wrestled what's going to be his official last match really ever. He never had the opportunity to really say goodbye, like a lot of guys get the opportunity to do. And so he was able to be afforded that opportunity many years after, a lot of people assumed he would have done something like that. So that was really cool. I think just for him, as a person, that had to be pretty meaningful. So Kevin Owens and him did a great job there. Cody Rhodes, who was in that other company that I do pay attention to on occasion or regularly. Cody Rhodes coming back to WWE, the son of Dusty, after being away and kind of doing his own thing with a different group, was a big deal. Him being back after many years away, kind of growing and improving who he was and becoming the character that they're now paying a lot of money to be back. Like after he basically walked away like 4 years ago, went and reinvented himself, and now he's back and making like probably billions of dollars because they're making so much money right now. Reigns and Lesnar was awesome, and so yeah, I was able to pick up on quite a few things. There's a lot of it, obviously again with like 2 7-hour shows or 6-hour shows or whatever they ended up being, but Dallas, Arlington, just the state of Texas is a great wrestling crowd. Always has been, always will be. There's something about this state, whether it's Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker and the Funks and the Rhodes, or really Dusty. Cody's not from Texas, but Dustin's from Texas as well. Still lives down in Austin. And the Blanchards and the Guerreros and the Von Erichs, and I could go on and on and on with the history of the old West Texas State guys that played football out there, and a bunch of them became pro wrestlers. I mean, this state knows its pro wrestling, and so no surprise Jerry's World had an awesome event, one of the better ones they've probably ever done just because of all that went into it. Logan Paul apparently did exceptionally well in his match. Pat McAfee got involved with Vince.
I saw that.
I mean, I'll give them a lot of credit. Like, they've really hit on the pulse of, kind of...
Also, Wee Man.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really going in what I had to say here, but I mean, in terms of, you see sometimes they want to go get like the superstar Hollywood guest appearance, and it's like, it's Snoop Dogg, which is cool. Like, Snoop's always relevant or whatever. But then there's sometimes you're like, who is this person really a star? Like who's like one time they had Jeremy Piven on there, like hosting Raw, and I'm like, Entourage isn't even on anymore. Like, is he really that big of a deal? But they really
gettable.
Yeah, and then they have like mid stars like that. But I will say, like, recently they really changed their direction. I think they realized how old they were getting, and so they've revamped like the entire roster really, and really changed it up to where it is more about the guys in their 30s and their 20s and all of that. But I think also with celebrities, they've really hit on something. I mean, instead of it just being kind of like the Shaquille O'Neals or the Pete Roses or whatever. I mean, it's Logan Paul, it's Bad Bunny, it's Pat McAfee. It's pretty damn on the nose, as far as the younger crowd goes. So I think that's really been a smart business play on their part, is to kind of go younger. And I think they're doing well with that. And it was all over Twitter all weekend, no matter what you were watching. So yeah, an awesome event for everybody that went out there. I debated on it and ultimately decided against it, but I'm sure everybody had an incredible time because it looked like an incredible event, whichever day or all the days that you went. And they've really turned WrestleMania weekend into just a full-blown, like Super Bowl week almost. Yeah. It's turned into that full-blown 3-4 day thing that you may live in New York, but it's in Arlington, and you save up your money and your big vacations going down to Arlington for WrestleMania week, So kudos to him. It was cool to see all the talk coming out.
Yeah, I saw our buddy Stu Myrick was, of course, there. Stu. That
dude's way more wrestling than I. He's on everything.
I actually had a couple of listeners text me this weekend or send me messages and say, "Hey, you guys, are you at WrestleMania?" I said, "Well, that's not necessarily up my alley." I said, but I said, I do think Craig wants to go sometime. But
I'd love to. Yeah. It was a matter of not having now in hindsight, night one would have been cool to see the Stone Cold stuff because that really that's been a long, long time coming for him. And he really didn't have a proper ending to his career. And I thought Kevin Owens did a really great job with all of that and helping him out because he's in his 60s. Or close to it now at this point with major neck injuries in his history and things like that. So that would have been, I think, the night to go to, although last night was apparently pretty good as well, what pieces I caught of it. But, congrats to all those that got to go and experience that. I will at some point. I will. But my fandom, as much as I may talk about it and sound like I know what I'm talking about, it goes in waves. There's times where you talk to me and I'll always know what's going on. I'll always know what's going on. It's just a matter of have I been watching. And right recently I have not been religiously watching that much, but
yeah. By the way, Daniel Acton said Jeremy Piven was better in PCU than Entourage.
I just saw him in Old School over the weekend. They were replaying that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was great in Old School. Let's see. Chris says I like Piven and Smoking Aces. Both PCU and Smoking Aces, underrated movies. PCU is kind of timeless. Really, if you go back and watch PCU right now, it is 30-something years old, probably 30 years old now, and kind of right on the nose.
So that's good for Jeremy Piven. We just reeled off 4 pretty good things, that he's been in. But yeah, that. I think his appearance was years ago at this point, and it was fresh off of when they were doing the Entourage movie. Maybe when that happened. So that's been a while, and he's just the name that popped into my head. But yeah, they've had some it's sort of a celebrity. I'm talking about him specifically, but there's been some you're okay. But then you get McAfee and Logan Paul, and whether or not I like, Logan Paul in particular or why he's famous, I got to give the dude massive amounts of credit for the career he's carved out and how talented he actually really is. If you watched him over the weekend in WrestleMania, for a dude who's never had a match before, I don't care what people think about the art of it or anything. It's not easy. And for him to go in there on a stage like that in front of 100,000 people and do really stinking well, much like McAfee did when he debuted, I guess several months ago, really, really impressive. Super impressive. I got a lot of respect for that.
Well, and I'll tell you with Logan Paul, it's probably some good career foresight because this, exhibition boxing thing is going to run out eventually,
and he can do this too. They're making so much money now with WWE, so the deals that they've carved out for themselves and Saudi Arabia deals they've carved. They're making so much money that he don't have to be a regular dude. He can pop up on occasion McAfee's become more of a regular as an announcer and things.
Well, he did a show there all week, so
no, he's locked. He's like an employee now, but. Previously when he would kind of just pop up, that's more of what Logan Paul or whoever else in that category could do and make really good money. So, if he wanted to, I'm sure if he went up to them today and said, "Hey, I'm ready to sign a contract," they would be writing that up as fast as possible. But we'll definitely see more of him, no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm curious to ask David Hellman because he was there over the weekend. What he thought of the whole thing.
And Vince needs to get out of the ring, though. I'll tell you that much. Vince doesn't need to be taking any more stunners at his age. He needs to. That was one of the more awkward moments was him attempting to take a stunner. But outside of that, it was all good.
We just found out Triple H is never going. He had
a lot of health problems. That was another. It's been very very memorable for the wrestling fans out there. But Triple H, laid his boots in the ring last night, signifying his retirement, and he had to. He didn't have a choice in the matter. If it was up to him, I'm sure he'd wrestle for another 10 years, once or twice a year, big money match, and do that. But he's got major heart issues that he's been dealing with, and so just a smart move on his part. But cool, he got to say goodbye on the grandest stage of them all.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a couple of other things I want to get to. The Eagles and Saints have made a trade, Craig, which the Eagles had 3 first-rounders in this year's draft, and they made a trade with the Saints in which the Saints received 2 2022 first-round draft picks, number 16 and number 19, and a 2022 sixth-round pick from the Eagles, who got a 2022 first-round pick, their 18th pick, a 2023 first-round pick, a 2024 second-round pick, plus a 2022 third and a 7th-rounder later on. So the Eagles still have 2 picks. They pick 15th and 18th now, as they were 16, 15, and 9, or 15, 16, and 19. So they pushed that back, and I mean, on the surface, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you're the Eagles, you could have 3 first-round picks this year, or you push back into next year where the quarterback crop is better, give Jalen Hurts another year to prove it, and you have 2 first-round picks next year, enabling you to maybe make a move where you wouldn't before. And if you're the Saints, you're in rebuild mode now that Sean Payton's gone, Drew Brees is gone. You've got to do some certain things, and 2 first-round picks is certainly going to help.
Yeah, I mean, definitely should. I mean, 2 first-round picks for the Saints. Yeah, I mean, they don't have I guess all their ducks in a row now. They're kind of, regrouping after the Peyton exit and kind of trying to find their way a little bit. And for the Eagles, I mean, as you mentioned, just with this quarterback class this year, I mean, woof. I mean, really, I mean, there's no buzz. They're trying to create buzz for guys, and like people are seeing right through it on the potential of this class. I mean, look, I mean, there's a couple names that it could be exciting, but like there's nobody that you're just like, wow, that guy, like that's the dude, that's the Trevor Lawrence. And look, even Trevor Lawrence hadn't been the dude yet, but there's just not a lot of momentum there right now with that position. So yeah, I think that's probably smart. You still get multiple picks, you just have to wait a little while longer forward, and then on the part of the other party, they want to go ahead and get theirs this year and see something that they like, then yeah, it makes sense for both teams, and probably smart to wait if you're really gearing towards using one of those picks on a quarterback ultimately, or just maybe lucking into just some once in a, not once in a generation, but one of the better, like maybe somebody like a defensive lineman that you really need, or somebody that you may not under other circumstances be able to get. Now you can possibly get that guy next year. So yeah, always cool to have multiple picks, and be fascinated to see what the Saints do with those, and the Eagles ultimately as well.
Yeah. Some other news from that we talked about last week, in Joe Buck's, in the wake of Joe Buck leaving to go to ESPN and take over Monday Night Football, who's going to take over the World Series at Fox? Well, and I'll tell people the story about it. My former colleague, Joe Davis. Joe Davis, who does some stuff for Fox, also took over for Vin Scully, the most legendary baseball announcer maybe in the history of baseball announcers. Joe Davis will do the World Series for Fox. John Smoltz will continue on in that role. But Joe Davis was the studio host for Baylor football for a season or two.
Oh, really?
Early on when I was doing the pregame show. Derek Smith, John Morris, and I were on that pregame show. As a matter of fact, Joe Davis ranked below me on that pregame show, and now he's doing the World Series and the Dodgers. So I feel, I mean, we're the same, right, Craig?
Yeah, totally the same.
I'm here with Emory,
right on the same level.
Yeah. So no, but Joe was always like really smooth, and I'll tell you. So Joe was the studio host, and then another guy took over who's not nearly as talented as Joe Davis, and it was you could just tell, and you knew when Joe left. He took a minor league baseball job, and then he just shot up the charts over the last decade. He's fantastic.
Replaced Vin Scully, didn't he?
Yeah. So he's replaced Vin Scully. So he just shot up the charts. I mean, he was doing minor league baseball. And then he's like doing,
replacing Vin effing Scully.
Yeah, and then he gets to Vin Scully in about a decade. So really, really fast ascension for one of the most talented broadcasters I've ever worked with Joe Davis. Going to take over. In our next segment, we do have breaking news from Baylor University. Big news concerning their athletic director, and you're going to like it. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on now at Richard Carr. Got the summer savings event in full effect and full swing, and they want to get you in a car as soon as possible. Right now over at Richard Carr, of course, supply chain issues have been causing massive problems for people trying to get into vehicles, whether they be new or pre-owned, but Richard Carr is here to make it as easy as possible for you. For 23 years, they've been selling the best cars and trucks on the road in Central Texas, and they're looking to thank Waco and Central Texas for their support over the years and for the support over the many more years to come as well. New GMC trucks, new GMC Buick and Cadillac SUVs are steadily arriving. Richard Carr is seeing new vehicle arrivals each week. Get on their inbound vehicle list so you can get your new car or truck as they arrive. For qualified buyers, you can buy a truck now and get 0% financing for 72 months on most GMC vehicles and Buick SUVs. And as summer vacation season approaches, remember Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac has 11 SUV models to choose from with dozens of trim options. They're a one-stop shop to find that perfect SUV for your needs. They have an SUV starting at $24K, so call them now, come by now, or go online to find the perfect SUV for your family this summer. And they're also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. Over 10 lenders who will do what it takes to get you in a car today. 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by for a test drive today. It's anniversary month at Richard Carr. Trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans and proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Welcome back. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Baylor has just announced, Craig, that Mack Rhodes is signing a 10-year deal to remain the athletic director. And, from Jason Cook said Mack will end his career at Baylor. So that is huge because Mack has done, obviously, an unbelievable job. Not just with the revenue sports and the front door ones. Everything is going really well at Baylor right now. I'm sure many other schools have taken notice. I'm sure other schools have made runs at him. There was rumors about USC when they had an athletic director opening. Not sure, how far they kicked that down the road, but I'm sure it pops up when an athletic director job opens, or the potential of, you have maybe a big school with a guy who's going to retire in 6 months, and you maybe call Mack and go, hey, if you would want to come to this school, those kind of how those things work. But this is huge for Baylor. Mack Rhodes agrees to a 10-year deal and will be at Baylor for the next 10 years and gets that massive contract extension. Well,
as you said, Jason Cook saying that he'll end his career in Waco. And, yeah, I mean, this was something that I think is needed and something that's deserved and something that's absolutely massive news for Baylor. I mean, I can name probably, if I actually sat down and just sat and thought for a few minutes, I could probably name pretty much all the athletic directors in the Big 12 off the top of my head. But, I don't give them much thought beyond that. And I certainly don't look around really and fear too much in the way of like, man, I can't wait for that Texas Tech AD to leave, or, the Iowa State AD, man, when he finally retires, that'll be great. And they'll finally go back to where there's, like that kind of deal. I noticed that with Mack Rhodes, though. I noticed that from other Big 12 fans. And I see his name brought up, and I've seen, when Aranda was going through, all of the rumor mill, I saw more than one person point out and say, like, the guy that needs to be taken away from Baylor is Mack Rhodes. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the guy that, want to take the Jenga piece out that'll crumble it, and he's not gonna be moving. So anybody wishing for that it would, deter what they've been doing and all the success that they're having. Today's not a good day. It's not a good news announcement for you. But for Baylor fans or fans of Mack Rhodes and all the schools that he's been with the last, several years of his career prior to arriving in Waco, I mean, it's a massive announcement. It really is. I mean, he's really done some incredible things in a short amount of time, although it's not short at this point. I mean, he got here in 2016, and here we are in 2022. It sure as hell, though, if you were around here like we were back then, it does feel like it was yesterday. It really does, because that was a hard time, man. That was a hard time, and he came in the midst of that hard time and had a rough few months, I mean, to say the least, with dealing with everything that was going on, and has had more things pop up along the way. But, in the last year alone, you got the NCAA investigation finally ended, and you got that out of the way. That was being used to negatively recruit against them for 4 or 5 years. And they just had to sit and wait, and finally got that news. And you got the Welcome Center being built, stone's throw away from us. You got all these projects in the work with the football ops center and the basketball field house, and you got a basketball national title in the men's game. You've got a football Big 12 championship team and a Sugar Bowl team, and there's all sorts of other sports. Volleyball just won their debut. Spring sports in general, outside of softball getting swept, and men's tennis losing to TCU, but they had just beaten TCU and just beaten Texas, so it's whatever. But I mean, outside of that, it was a really good weekend. It's just all the sports are, for the most part, really strong right now, and everything's going pretty well. So I did wonder, just all the money being thrown around and the conference shuffling and the future of TV deals. I mean, you do wonder, is there going to be a Big 12 AD who does look around and go man, look at what my brethren in the SEC's making, or what my brethren in the Big Ten's making, and whether that would be appealing or not. But if you like where you are and you're getting paid well enough to do what you do, there's no reason to pick up and leave. And so I'm glad that Baylor gave him no reasons to want to go and possibly look elsewhere. And I'm sure we'll still hear his name pop up when AD jobs at big schools come up, and rightfully so. But no, this is huge news for Baylor. I mean, it starts top on down, and Linda Livingstone is where it starts, but Mack Rhoades, it's right after that, and he's been a huge, valuable asset for Baylor and for Waco, and so good to know that he's going to be around for quite a long while. That's a big question. That wasn't really a question, but one that if you start to kind of look down the railroad tracks, and like, okay, what could disrupt this? What could kind of throw a rock in the way? I wondered, like, man, is somebody going to come with big money for Mack Rhoades? I mean, how would you not? Look at what he's done. But no matter, I mean, they can, but he's got big money at Baylor, so that's awesome, and can't wait to talk to him tomorrow about it.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting just to see now how the rest of the Big 12 responds to this news. Because I'm sure there's some Big 12 schools that might have called about Mack Rhoades or whatever. But
hell, I'm surprised Joey McGuire hadn't tried to hire him yet.
Yes, it's very. You weren't here on Friday when we got to talk about that either. I was missing your insight on the Brian Nance hire on Friday, but I
think that, and I'm not talking about Joey here, but I think that some people can play the disrespect card only so much before it eventually becomes apparent that it's just a play on your part and there's not real meaning behind it. So to whom that may concern.
But I think that Mack Rhoades getting locked up. And here's the thing. You said, there might be, like you said, SEC, Big Ten programs, give them a call. But there's something about the program being yours. And that's and every time somebody asked me about Scott Drew leaving for another job, I said, well, that would make sense to me if this Baylor program wasn't now completely his from top to bottom. This is his program.
Yeah.
There's just like Valpo was his dad's program. Just like when Dean Smith left North Carolina, it was Dean Smith's program. Duke is Coach K's program. It's Bill Self. It's his program, top to bottom. Scott Drew does that in basketball. And when you're that athletic director, sometimes you don't get because of the politics and everything involved, you don't really get to make that the case. You're coming in following. Some places have a new athletic director every 4 years, like a presidential election. It just rotates through because they can't keep out of it. But Baylor made a great decision to hire him in 2016 after, again, and they had to have somebody who could start from scratch and build up.
There were a lot of detractors. There were a lot of people that I remember because of the way the whole Missouri thing unfolded, which didn't really have a whole lot to do with him. He was just there when all hell broke loose on their campus with, fake racial crimes and just all sorts of madness going on. That all was kind of at the same time, and then he ups and leaves for Baylor, and I know a lot of Missouri fans were pissed about that, and didn't have very kind words to say on the way out. And there were others that were respectful, but I do recall some that were, what a terrible hire and things like that. And that could not be farther from the truth, just because he didn't do well in one spot doesn't mean you can't go do well somewhere else. And so, that's what he did. And I'm sure had he stuck it out and stayed at Missouri, that eventually they would have been experiencing a lot of success as well if they would have just been able to get through that. But, their loss was Baylor's gain, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and he's done a fantastic job here and has navigated a lot of things, whether it was football scandal or some difficult things that have popped up along the way in other spots.
They're dealing with realignment and, the potential of being, basically with 100 other schools looking at, 40 other schools in terms of this massive, massive gap. And luckily for him, he's not at the tail end of those other 100. He's still near the top of that. But, it's a very interesting changing landscape. And the last thing you want to do if you're Baylor in the midst of NIL and transfer portal and conference realignment and new TV deals and all of the different things that are on the table right now, the last thing you would want to do is have to lose an athletic director of his caliber and then go out on the search for one. And I'm sure they would find somebody great, but I'm just glad they don't have to, because I think they've got the perfect guy right now, and I think that's been showing in the results now, especially the last couple of years.
Yeah. So it's everything's going well for Baylor, and they can control. And Mack has run a great program. We'll talk to him tomorrow here on the show on Sikkim 365 Radio. Wednesday, by the way, is the 2-year anniversary show on April 6th. When we come back, Josh White transfer from LSU, was in visiting Baylor this weekend. He sat down with Grayson Grudefer. We'll have that interview, and we don't know when his decision is coming, but some insight on the transfer linebacker and what he saw at Baylor this weekend. So that interview with Grayson Grudefer, that's next. David Hellman at 5:30. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Jet motion they go with here with Baldwin. And Baldwin breaks free. And the Bears, Sikkim, Monterey Baldwin.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Fear not, Smokey will be back tomorrow.
Yeah, dentist appointment. So
yeah,
we've all been there.
Yeah. So look, sometimes you wait for these things, and they tell you it's this time. You're like, look, I gotta be. Yeah. Nobody wants painful teeth. It's the worst. We were at a game one time. I had a thing going on with my tooth. I took like a breath and like it almost made me pass out. It was so painful.
Yeah, it'll get you.
Yeah.
It'll get you. You know, it's one of those things when you have it, you're like, oh, it's the most painful thing. It's worse than anything else. But then you get a stomach ache that's real bad. And you're like, oh, man, stomach aches are the worst. And nothing worse. You get strep throat. That's the worst by far. Sore throats are the worst. But no, bad tooth or needing some work. Yeah, no, that'll shut you down pretty quick. So don't blame him for not wanting to talk for 3 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. So he'll be back tomorrow. And again, we just announced, Baylor just announced 10-year extension for Mack Rhodes, the athletic director. Now, we'll talk championship game a little bit later in the show. We've got David Hellman coming up at 5:30. But Josh White, linebacker from LSU, entered the transfer portal a little more than a week ago, about 10 days ago, took a visit to Waco this weekend and was in studio with our Grayson Grundhoefer. Here is that interview. I was
going to say I saw him at practice on Saturday. I was out there for the first part, and then the after media portion, we don't get to watch much of the actual practice, but we did get to see a little bit of it, and got to spot him and several other recruits that were out there. But yeah, I mean, the LSU connection obviously in play here, not only with Dave Aranda, but there's others like Juice Johnson from that old LSU staff. Aranda recruited Josh White to LSU, now trying to recruit him to Baylor. Losing guys like Terrell Bernard this year, they could certainly use some strengthening of the linebacking core. I mean, I think they can roll with what they've got, but you could certainly use some more help. And then next year when Dylan Doyle leaves, amongst others, I think Bryson Jackson would also be gone then. And maybe I've got that wrong, but there's going to be some more guys leaving. So, yeah, I mean, they're kind of in a position now where they start to need to, revamp this linebacking core just a little bit. And he would be an excellent addition. I mean, that'd be one way to do it. I was counting their roster the other day. I think they have anywhere, because I don't quite know on maybe walk-ons who get scholarships or things like that, right? But I want to say they've got like 6 or 7 open scholarships based on what I counted up the other day. So this would still, if they were able to land Josh White, give them another 5 or 6 to play with, which is very, very interesting because that's a lot of guys. That's a lot of guys. So very curious on if he adds to this roster or wherever he ends up. I mean, Texas has offered him, USC's offered him. A bunch of other schools have offered him as well. So he's got some options, but the Dave Aranda, I think, relationship is definitely something in Baylor's favor right now.
Absolutely. All right, here is our Grayson Grundhoefer with Josh White in studio this weekend.
This is Grayson Grundhoefer with SicEm365.com, and I'm here with LSU transfer linebacker Josh White, originally from Cy Creek High School. Josh, you just came on an unofficial visit to Baylor.
Right.
What'd you think about it?
I loved it, man. It was, it was good to talk with all the old coaches because, I don't even think of them coaches. I'm like, them guys like family to me, man. And just to see them again, to see that they happy and they coaching football, man, it was great. It was a great experience.
Yeah, you told me, I guess, when you first entered, maybe a little bit after, you were like, whenever I do visit Baylor, it's going to be kind of like a family reunion. Yeah. Is that kind of how it felt?
Man, it was more than what it felt, man. It was definitely a great experience to be out there with them, man. Like, just to see how them smiling, coaching, doing the stuff they love, stress-free. And just, yeah, it was great.
Okay, so take me through the day. Just kind of, you woke up at 5 a.m., drove out here, and then what?
Yeah, so I woke up at 5, drove out here, got to see all my dogs, like Coach Weed and them. So I got that little introduction, and we hit academics, like if you want to make sure your credits count coming over from new school and stuff like that. So all that worked out good. And after we hit academics, we went on this little school tour, you know what I mean? Looking at the living style in Waco and stuff like that. And we went over to like where the rock climbing, where's that place?
The Slick. Yeah, that's awesome.
We went out there to go look at that and stuff. And then after that, I came back, watched the spring practice. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was seeing most of the guys do what they do. You know what I'm saying? It was good to see Apu out there, you know what I'm saying, playing good. Good to see my dude Drake. Mm-hmm. Drake even scored a touchdown in practice. So
there you go, just for you.
Yeah, right. So it was good to see him out there balling, man. And then after that, I had a meeting, with the linebacker coach, linebacker coach DC.
Okay.
And yeah, it went good. He showed me how I would fit in the scheme, and how they would use me. And he showed me like the linebackers they've coached using the same scheme that are now having successful careers. So I think that was pretty good for me to see,
Yeah, so that was Ron Roberts, I assume. Okay. And where do they see you playing? The Will? The Will, okay.
Yeah.
So watching Terrell Bernard this year, if he showed you any clips of him and what he did, is that something you feel very comfortable with, that role?
For sure. I feel way comfortable with that role, just having that freedom to go out there, just like, not to think, but just play football. You know what I'm saying? Just to get the call, get lined up, get your alignment, get the call, and just go out there and play football and make a play.
So I know Dave Aranda has a track record of putting guys in the NFL, especially the linebackers. Is that something that really resonated with you the first time around in your recruitment?
For sure. That's why I went to LSU, man. Is his track record and just getting to know him as a person over the time. You know what I mean? Just me and him building that relationship. And yeah.
So I know at Baylor they've built this motto, it's person over player.
Right.
Is that something that Dave Aranda's always had?
Well, he recruited me. So he never really actually coached me. It was just like recruiting. But me and his relationship, it definitely feels that way. Because he always watched out for me. I feel like Coach Aranda got my back, you know what I mean? Through anything. And
so you're going through this process again, and you visited Waco this time, but you visited a lot in 2018 as well. Was it weird coming back? Not weird, but just different.
Yeah, it was different. I'm like, I was going on a tour and I'm already knowing stuff the what's that gold thing y'all got? The tower was actual
Pat
gold.
Neff.
I know that, and I know about the Bears, the live Bears. So I've been seeing all that stuff already since my sophomore, junior year of high school.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this, but they were your first offer.
Yeah, first offer out of high school. Coach Rule.
Yeah, that's
Rabo,
crazy.
My dogs too, man. Yeah.
And then you come back and they're your first offer out of the transfer portal as well. Is that just Baylor believing in you type thing?
Yes, man. I guess they believe in me, man. Baylor really want me.
So, looking at Aranda at LSU, was there a particular guy when he was recruiting you that he was like, I want you to be like this former player. I want you to maybe, I'm thinking a Devin White or something like that. Is there anyone like that?
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, all them guys that you naming like Devin White and Patrick Coon, they got one thing in common, which is speed.
Yeah.
So I feel like him seeing my athletic ability on my high school tape and even on my LSU tape playing special teams, he feels like I have the speed to do what those guys can do.
Yeah, and you mentioned to me, what'd you clock your miles per hour? Because I know y'all did that. LSU
it was
tracked
like a 22-12.
Man, I mean, that's like wide receivers.
Yeah.
What they're running. Okay. Do you know when it was? Do you remember when they tracked it? Was it in practice or special teams?
It was actually during the off season before spring football. So it's not long ago, but it was off season before spring football had started. We're just doing the clocks and stuff. So that's what I had clocked in at.
So I know a big thing you mentioned to me, and I know you're coming off an injury, right? The labrum, right? I think is what it was. Yeah. So then you've had how many defensive coordinators in your time in college?
Man, I like to count Coach Aranda just because me and his relationship. So I throw Coach Aranda, and I've had Bo Pelini and Coach Baker, and now Coach House.
That's crazy, man. So are you just ready for stability?
I'm ready for stability, man. Yeah, most definitely. Stability and where I can grow and play.
Okay, so I know your relationship with Dave Aranda is special, but what about your relationships with the other schools that are recruiting you and their coaches? Do you have other good relationships?
Yeah, for sure. I got good relationships with all those coaches. They all seen me coming out of high school. They seen what I could do. They seen my talents, and they gave me a chance to play. Yeah, to play at the next level. So I respect all those other dudes. Them reaching out, seeing they still see that in me. You know what I mean? It means a lot.
Is there one or two schools that are recruiting you really hard outside of Baylor?
I would throw probably UT and TCU.
Okay.
For sure.
You're planning trips to both of those, correct? Yeah. And that's going to be the next few weekends?
Yeah, next few weekends.
Okay. And I know you mentioned May 1st, right? It's got to be done by then.
Got to be done, so I can focus, get the playbook, start learning, be done with all this recruiting and stuff.
Okay. So round 2, you got to make another decision coming up here in a little bit. I mean, what's going to be different for you in this process about making that decision?
Yeah, man, it's just asking all the right questions. You know, you gotta believe in the coach, and you gotta believe that he's gonna put you in the right place to make plays. You know what I mean? And you gotta ask questions. You gotta ask the questions like, say if I had a problem like with my hands, like how are you gonna develop me to improve with that? You know what I mean? You gotta ask the questions of how they're gonna develop you.
Isn't it like crazy? Because you probably would have never asked that question out of high school, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
you're so much more informed now, right? That's crazy.
Just having so many coaches, you know, it's just having so many coaches and knowing so many coaching styles. It's just, a lot of stuff just stands out. You know what you like. You go learn what you like and what you don't like fast. So I should say,
yeah, I bet it's like, no, that's a deal breaker. Yeah, I don't want that. Okay, so I know you had mentioned USC as well. Is that pretty much?
I want to stay home. I want to stay in Texas. Yeah.
Okay, is that a just be close to family type thing, or just
close to family? And man, I love Texas. Like, even I'm gonna be honest with you, the reason why I went to LSU was because I was gonna be coached by Coach Aranda. Yeah,
true.
So. That was I left Texas because of him.
Yeah, and I mean LSU is like that's pretty close to Texas, especially Houston. It's not that far. Okay, what about Baylor? I guess now that you kind of coming off this visit, what do you think about Baylor? And is it a place that you feel like could develop you and be a place where you could see yourself going?
Most definitely, man. Y'all got Coach Aranda here. You know, he got an amazing track record. You know what I mean, of producing and developing linebackers. So. I'm for sure comfortable with it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you, Josh. Thanks for coming by the studio. Man, I appreciate it, man.
I like this little setup, man. I got it going in here.
It's fun. We have fun. We're fun here. It's good.
It. As long as y'all having fun, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the main important thing. Most definitely.
Awesome, man. Thanks. This has been Sikkim365.com with Josh White.
Yo.
Good stuff from Grayson there. And, look, we'll find out on Josh White eventually, but we got a text from Mike Scarborough, who covers LSU, right from the beginning, saying this is an Aranda guy. And transfers kind of fall into several different categories, Craig. You know, when you leave, maybe it's because a coach left, maybe it's because, like in his situation, the defensive coordinator who recruited him and signed him left. The head coach was fired. They brought in a new guy who then brought in a wave of transfers unlike Baton Rouge has never seen before. And particularly at his position, he's been injured. So he kind of falls into a bunch of the Venn diagram of his transfer is interesting. But where's he going to go after? Well, you start going down the list of schools that you wanted to go to before, or maybe with coaches you liked before. And he and Aranda had a good relationship. So not surprised to see him here seriously considering Baylor.
No, I mean, He's just going around and talking to the folks that he already knows. I mean, Jeff Banks at Texas, there's a connection there, which is why we'll see if he goes and visits UT. I know he's expected to, I believe. Last I looked, I don't know if that's maybe changed or not. But, it's old connections when you jump back in that portal. And then, obviously a lot of new ones, I'm sure, as well, have come to the dance to try and take him out and woo him because he's a good player. Obviously, a lot left in the tank because injuries have kind of derailed his first couple of years, but 4 years of eligibility remaining. He'd be a great fit for Baylor, I think, just in terms of, that relationship that's already been built, not just with Aranda, but Dennis Johnson was another one of his recruiters, I believe, at LSU. So, you kind of got the double whammy there. And I'm sure there were others, too, that are on this Baylor staff now that were probably, involved to some extent. But I mean, Aranda and Johnson alone, I mean, that's a nice little duo to try and woo him to Waco. But, again, Texas and USC, and I know there's been others, TCU, that have offered him as well. And I'm sure he's got connections or is now building those with those places. But, I mean, clearly he had a good time. Looked like he was having a good time. What little I could kind of see from across the field on Saturday, he was, not nearly the only recruit there. There were a ton of guys in attendance, but he was definitely a VIP. And I'm sure treated that way because I think they want him pretty badly. I think the connections just all make sense. I think you look at the linebacker spots, especially a weak side linebacker, and you can see where, they could use Josh White to come in and replenish their ranks and not only just come in and have depth, extra depth, but I mean, come in and, be a guy, be like an actual star out there for them potentially. So yeah, going to be very exciting to see where he ultimately lands, especially if it is Baylor. No idea on a timetable. I can't imagine he'll drag it out too long because he's already missing spring ball for most people. So, that's already out the window. But I would think, we'll learn something here, to state the obvious, sooner rather than later, but I would have to think it's got to be somewhat relatively soon. I mean, it's April 4th, so you don't have forever to make this decision, but he does have a little bit of time. So we'll see, but I like Baylor's chances a lot in this one.
Yeah, I do too. I think it just kind of makes sense. I mean, it's a good fit because, again,
it's like Apuika. I mean, he left LSU. He had the relationship with Dennis Johnson and with Dave Aranda, et cetera. Same deal. And, came to Waco. And I think Apu with a year like last year, and you would like to see a little bit more from him because it's just another year being older, another year in the system. You expect him to just get a little bit better. And if he does, Apu's going to be getting some draft buzz. I mean, that's going to be coming. So, he could have gone to BYU. He could have gone to Utah. I mean, that's where he's from. But, that Aranda connection, as well as others, came into play. And so hopefully that's the case with Josh White as well, because I think he could come in like Apu did and have an immediate impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a spot for him. I mean, look, they've got some good experience at linebacker coming back. Obviously, Dylan Doyle, can do everything that he can do. Matt Jones showed, his ability, but those are two guys who have proved it. But after that, it's a bunch of guys that you got to wonder about, and so he can step in right away and get a lot of playing time, if not start for a Baylor team that essentially runs a 3-4, 3-3-5, whatever you want to call it. But depending on that, what you really want to classify that star position as. But
yeah, I mean, some say linebacker, some say DB, some say it's kind of a mutant.
Thing.
Yeah, it's not one or the other. It's a mutant spot that's just a little bit of everything. But yeah, I mean, Christian Morgan's apparently moved positions, to deal with some of their departures. But Josh White, yeah, they could get creative and fun with him, or he could at least answer, some future questions that they have, and even some immediate questions that they have in terms of their depth and their star power at linebacker. But yeah, he's one to watch. Obviously, he's got some big offers in a short amount of time, and like I said, he seemed to have enjoyed himself. So they've made their pitch, and we'll see if it's enough to bring him to Waco.
Well, as soon as he makes a decision, whatever it is, it'll be up on Sikkim365.com. So whatever it is, whatever decision he makes, you'll know about it from us. So if he decides to come to Baylor, if he decides to go elsewhere, you'll find out about Josh White. So it's interesting. I do think this time of year for transfers, to me, is the most interesting, because if you're transferring now, your decision was made kind of in different circumstances, or I mean, not necessarily different, but like, something's happened between signing day, like what his decision was signing day, transfer, the first transfer period. Then you've been like, oh, well, I see where I kind of stand here.
Yeah. I don't know what it was for him.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I mean, I think he discussed it a little bit, but look, Baylor's got 6-7 scholarships available, something along those lines. I mean, again, I don't know who's on scholarship that you wouldn't expect to be, like a walk-on that's maybe on it. So you take, that changes the total there. But based on me just going through, okay, these are known scholarship players, and these are maybe a couple guys who I know got one eventually. I think they have 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. He'd make it, 5 or 6 still left. That's what's very curious to me is that remaining, in addition to the Josh White aspect of it, but those remaining scholarships. But to your point, is the reason why it's interesting, because now we're going to start seeing how they're going to use them, because spring ball is ongoing right now for most. I mean, I guess some have finished already, but this is when you'd expect the transfer portal to fill up, is after spring ball, or as teams are going through spring ball, because guys are seeing like, oh, wait, I'm now 3rd on the depth chart. I'm not going to play here. I better go and get in the transfer portal. Or, hey, Brian Kelly's kind of a D-bag. I don't know if I want to play for him, anymore. So it'll dawn on guys at different times. But, the transfer portal's kind of gotten a little quiet because there was that initial rush at the beginning of the year and the portion of the postseason when a lot of that was going on. But I think we're about to see another rush. I think we're about to see, a bunch more guys jumping into that thing. So I'm very curious, outside of Josh White, who Baylor may have their eyes on. But got to land him first and then go from there.
Yeah, maybe he's like, I don't want Brian Kelly to grind on me in an internet video.
Maybe it's supposed to be closer to home.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
there's a billion reasons to do what you want to, for reasons behind whatever you want to do, especially a decision like where you're going to, finish your college career. And when you're a guy who's got 4 years left potentially, it's a big decision. Obviously, you didn't get it right the first time, so I don't think you want to make that mistake the second time around. And potentially, guys make enough bad choices. We've seen them. They make bad choices initially and maybe even make a bad transfer choice, and somebody who's pretty good and maybe would have been an NFL guy had he just made the right choice from the beginning is, a USFL guy instead.
And look, Brian, look, just in LSU's case in particular, they are, with now 2 programs, going to have just a top-down cleaning because of the situation.
And quite frankly, needed it.
Needed it. And the Brian Kelly was brought in to do here, do what you want to do. Do what you think is necessary to organize this, because Ed Orgeron did not have a grasp on the kind of administrative side of things, to put it mildly. As a head coach, it was kind of a bit of a free-for-all there. And they had many other worse issues predating Ed Orgeron with some Les Miles.
I do think it's kind of ridiculous that LSU, I know that there was a lot of articles and stuff written about them, but when you look at the fact that their basketball and head football coaches are out in this time frame in such a short amount of time because of violations or allegations, and it does not feel like it was treated like that big of a deal, really. It really doesn't. And I don't know if that's the power of the SEC or the power of being a blue blood or what. There was talk about it, don't get me wrong, but it did not feel like he was on outside the lines, if that show still existed, every single day like it did with Baylor. And, that was obviously closer to home, so maybe it just felt like there was more of a focus, but I don't know. I've tried to be step outside and take a look at it. I still feel like there was a lot more focus on Baylor's football story than there was on LSU's football and basketball stories going on.
I think one of the factors is, and not the only one, you've hit on a couple. So ESPN put a bunch of resources behind the clicks and page views they got with Baylor. Mm-hmm. But the American public, as sheepish as we can be, eventually, you've read the same article 10 times, 20 times, which is what was going on. And then you have a book that comes out, which was just essentially a collection of those same 10 stories over and over and over again. And it didn't move the needle anymore. So it just comes down to dollars and cents.
Yep.
And that's the sad part about it, is the job of the media is to report the facts, not, these facts are not as entertaining.
Well, I think we saw shortly after all of their coverage, the network itself, completely flipped what they were doing.
Yeah.
And Bob Lee left shortly after that, and Outside the Lines, is that even a thing anymore? I don't even know. Don't watch, but and I'm not saying that to pile on to LSU. I'm just saying to reinforce that, they needed a cleaning. So I know they're in the midst of a weird transition right now. They got no scholarship basketball players. It's insane. So obviously a lot of work to do there, but they made a great hire. So I think they'll be fine. Ultimately, it's going to be just a little bit of time to kind of get the roster back together. And then in football, obviously a change was needed. It was just too many whispers and too many things being thrown around about Edo and all of that. So rough year for LSU. I was just kind of surprised by the fact that you had those simultaneously going on, and it wasn't more in-your-face coverage. But I know, like you said, it's dollars and cents, and I don't wish that for anybody either. I don't wish them to just get raked over the coals daily, because I saw how it was with Baylor, where a lot of it was deserved at one point, and then after a while, you're just like, okay, this is just kicking a dead dog over and over and over again.
And it was the same things over and over again, or rehashed to put through a different lens, which still ended the same thing. And what I told people all the time when they would be like, I heard this, and it was mostly reported down in Austin or something like that, you'd be like,
they were real on top of it down there.
You don't need to embellish. The real thing's terrible. The real thing is terrible. Embellishing just will now make people believe it less, because the real thing, you need to know the real thing that happened, and that's probably how it goes. Now, look, LSU did take a page out of the Baylor playbook, which is hire a new athletic director and then top-down clean house, which is what they did with Scott Woodward, bringing him in from A&M, and he has changed things up there. So you hire the new athletic director, and eventually, the microscope comes off of you, because that's what you do. Athletic director, public relations, all those things. Plus, everybody else after, in a post-Baylor world, which one of those teams was Michigan State, whose scandal was decades long, way worse, and affected the freaking Olympics. But because everybody saw how badly Baylor handled it, they were able to just be like, well, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, Michigan State really got it at the end. They were kind of like the final coverage of it, it feels like, because I remember SportsCenter doing like the full-blown 1 hour episode. They had like Jamel Hill and like all these people up doing a special, like this set's really quiet because it's a really serious subject matter. And Michigan State got their fair share of that kind of attention. But hey, don't make mistakes in the first place. Have a sound, department in every way, shape, and form. You don't have to deal with those things. But yeah, LSU's been through it. They've made a couple big hires. We'll see how they maneuver out of it. Obviously, got to go get some basketball players. But their loss in Josh White could be Baylor's game, could be Texas's, could be USC's, could be a number of teams. But hopefully, we're watching them here with Waco. Because if I ran the one the first time, then I definitely want to see what he can get out of him.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, David Hell and DallasCowboys.com. There are some trade rumors at the Cowboys, but I want David's full focus on the upcoming draft, which is something he does very, very well. This is Sick of 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Jeep Celebration is going on now at Allen Samuels. Come see the newest Grand Cherokee, the new 2022, available in a 2-row or a family favorite, the 3-row Model L. Jeep re-engineered for the future. The Grand Cherokee is ready for the next great adventure. Are you? Find legendary power and confidence, along with head-turning style, is what Grand Cherokee is. First responders get a $500 discount. Shop Allen Samuels, DCJ.com, or come in and see our huge selection of brand new cars and trucks.
Come by. Let's be friends.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Well, 2 timeouts left, minute 10 in the first half. See if the Falcons can get something going here. And not there. As dropped his line, he fumbled, but it's picked up. As Micah Parsons came through
It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Welcome back. Sick 'em 365 Radio, 365 Sports. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com with us. And please subscribe to our Cowboys 365 channel, which if you miss any part of this interview or you're watching it later and just want to watch this part of the show, we'll be up on that page later on. David, I do want to talk about WrestleMania. I know that you were there and got to see Stone Cold Steve Austin. But Cowboys this week, as they kind of turn towards the draft, I know that there's going to be a lot of trade rumors here and there, but do you think the focus is maybe off of free agency and in full steam ahead to the draft?
I mean, in general, I do, but these are never, I mean, you can multitask. You can have all those sorts of conversations as you see fit. I mean, if you didn't see the report earlier today, the Cowboys were at least part of the conversation in the trade sweepstakes for Devontae Parker. Obviously, New England wound up getting him, but to hear it from Adam Schefter, the Cowboys at least called. So, yeah, their focus is definitely on the draft. They've made no bones about that. But if you get a phone call about a proposal or a player or something like that, agents are always working the phones. That's part of Will McClay's job as well. So I don't think it stops them from pursuing something if it comes across their desk. But like I said, in general, yeah, I think the draft is the primary focus right now.
So clearly still looking for another receiver, though, huh?
It's wonderfully ironic. I mean, I know that a lot of other considerations like salary go into it, but I just kind of laughed. I was like, yeah, you probably could use a receiver. You had one on your team. But hey, well, who am I? I'm just a reporter. But yeah, I mean, good on them for at least recognizing that the situation as it stands is probably not good enough. But if it were me, I probably would have just kept the guy that was already here. But again, who am I?
Yeah, we'll never know the full story of how that went down, but the last month on that has just seemed so bizarre. It just, especially, I guess, when you look at it and you can't, I know it's not fair to do this because we're not completely understanding of what all the cap numbers mean and dead money and things like that, what they're trying to balance or what their, long-term cap goals are. But you look around the league and you got to think that if they really wanted to, they could have done something with Amari Cooper.
You always can. Yeah. And I think that's the number one lesson. Like, if you want the player, you can always make it work. They did it with DeMarcus Lawrence. They've done it with a million guys. And so I think that's the number one thing that I think people need to understand is, like, you can always make it work. Like, teams love to be like, oh, our hands were tied. We had to think about the cap. And that's true to a degree. But if you think a guy is integral to your success, you make it work. And that is the message to take away, is that in the long term, the Cowboys think that they're better off without Amari. Maybe not in the short term, but that is a risk that they're willing to take in the long-term interest of their team being better, in their opinion.
Well, and look, they always say, the team said, we had to think about the cap, but sometimes they make decisions where they clearly aren't thinking about the cap. I mean, Jalen Smith maybe was one of those, in that they were kind of at that point negotiating against themselves, and they are where they are with his dead money for this season.
I'm reluctant to kill them for the Jalen deal. Looking back on it, it sucks, and maybe hindsight is 20/20 in the sense that linebacker is not the most valuable position to be dropping fat stacks on, but that was a sweetheart deal for the Cowboys had Jalen continued to play well. I mean, he signed at the time, usually when a guy signs a new deal, you set the market, and Jalen agreed to a salary that would have he wasn't even in the top 5, I don't believe. It just sucks that for one reason or another, he fell off a cliff. But again, going back to 2019, he played great in 2018. He was a borderline Pro Bowl caliber player. And so to get him on a discounted salary, thinking that he was going to continue to play at that level, I can't kill him for that. It's just unfortunate. Like I said, he didn't just decline. He fell off a cliff. And that's where you wind up with a cap charge that you probably were not expecting.
One of the other names that, social media and whatnot being talked about at one point was Bobby Wagner. He signs with the Rams. Just your thoughts on that move by both LA and Bobby Wagner, David?
I mean, good for the Rams, man. Like, speaking of working the cap, I mean, the way that they've managed this whole thing is fascinating. And I don't get too wrapped up in, like, I've done this long enough to realize, like, there's not one formula. There's not one way to build a Super Bowl team. But the Rams certainly seem to have found a market in efficiency in the way that they acquire talent, the way that they use their draft picks. And then on top of that, I mean, we talk a lot about maybe people being willing to take less to play for the Cowboys, but it certainly seems like the Rams have an aura all their own that is helping them. I mean, Bobby Wagner's from LA. I guarantee you he wanted the opportunity to play the Seahawks twice a year, and obviously the Rams look like
I mean, they just maybe
2 or 3 years.
Yeah, had maybe they just called him to tell him, hey, we're going to let you go, the Cowboys might have had a better chance, and then he might not have held that grudge.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
but I mean, sometimes that stuff feels like a snowball effect sometimes, where a team like the Rams just becomes that much more attractive to players like Bobby Wagner as they acquire other talent. And it's impressive to watch. I know it's frustrating for Cowboy fans, but and even, the details on Wagner's contract came out today. It's not a gigantic expenditure, but with what we know about the way the Cowboys want to spend their free agency dollars, I never believed that they were going to drop that kind of money on a linebacker who was on the wrong side of 30. And honestly, I got to say, I don't blame them for that. There were some other signings that I would have liked to see them do. But knowing that you've got Jabril Cox and Micah Parsons under contract for cheap, I don't blame them for that. But I know right now, I think people are just frustrated with the general lack of action more than anything, and I totally get that.
Yeah, I just think, we're all, even you, David, you work there, but we're all outside observers. I mean, so it's hard for us to see the plan. Like, what's the plan here? Because trading Amari Cooper doesn't make you better. You're worse at that position because you don't have Amari Cooper. So what's the plan to get better? It's not James Washington, no offense to him, but, the numbers are the numbers.
Oh, I'm with you, man. And I mean, I see a plan, but it feels like more of a big picture plan for 2023, to be honest with you. Like, it certainly looks to me like they're clearing up cap space and they can do more stuff in 2023 with some other contracts. And it looks like they're freeing up money so that they can have cap flexibility and also keep an eye on guys like Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs who are going to need deals before you know it. That's all well and good. That's what I keep going back to. I'm like, I can see a plan for how you think this is going to help you in 2023 and 2024. What about now? Like, what about the 12-5 team that looked like one of the best teams in the league for stretches of last season, and improving on that and trying to take advantage of kind of a weak NFC? I mean, other than Green Bay and Tampa and the Rams, I mean, the NFC is nowhere near as loaded as the AFC. And barring something nuts, it's hard to imagine that they're better in 2022 than they were in 2021. And regardless of the big term picture, I completely understand why that's frustrating to fans.
Yeah. David, all right, you were at WrestleMania the other night. Craig, a big wrestling fan. What was that like?
This job has afforded me so many incredible opportunities that I never thought I'd have. And I was sitting there last night and I was like, damn, third WrestleMania. I'm going to through these things. And as a 12-year-old kid who used to stay up past his bedtime every week watching Raw and, doing chores around the house to scrape together pay-per-view money to watch, to order the pay-per-views. I guess that's not even how you do it anymore. But yeah, I mean, I used to wash my parents' cars so I could scrape together money to order WrestleMania. So to be there and see Stone Cold come out and The Undertaker, and I don't keep up with it these days the way that I used to, but I mean, it's awesome, man. I know people kind of snicker at pro wrestling, or some people do. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan these days, but like you gotta respect the spectacle and the effort that they put into it. I mean, it's amazing just the amount of manpower that goes into making this over the top show, and the risk that those guys take to put on a show for the audience. It's a lot of fun. I like anybody that's got something bad to say about pro wrestling, like just go to a pay-per-view, go to WrestleMania if you can afford it, or go to another one, and like I think you'll at least understand why people like it, even if you're not super into it.
Yeah, I find that those people typically have like the nerdy thing that they like of their own. So it's kind of like, it's like, tell me how nerdy wrestling is, but then go tell me about, your fantasy lineup and your World of Warcraft and your video, it's all the same. But
I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and it's WrestleMania week, me and my friend. I was telling this to somebody earlier today, I was like, every April I get back into wrestling. Like WrestleMania comes around, I'm like, oh yeah, this kicks ass. And then I kind of, it fades away once WrestleMania is over. But a girlfriend of mine was basically like, I don't get it. And I was like, well, all the reality TV shows you watch,
exactly.
it's all of that. But then you watch these like roided out freakazoids, fly through the air and beat the crap out of each other in between. And they were like, oh, when you put it that way, it actually makes sense. I was like, yeah, it's weird, but it makes sense for all of the same reasons that soap operas and reality TV shows make sense.
Exactly.
I have not had a successful argument with my girlfriend on that one. Like she, like I'll tell her like, look, I'm going to go see Spider-Man. And then she's like, it's so stupid. And then I'll come home and she's watching
Kardashians,
the Bachelorette. And I'm like, well, I mean, we all have our own things that
exactly. That's my point. Everybody's got their nerd thing.
She doesn't buy the argument.
Yeah.
It's cool to her.
I mean, hey, I want to be clear. I did not convince her to watch it. She was like, oh, I get why somebody else would, but not me.
So David, were you there both nights, Saturday or Sunday? Like, how did you do that?
No, I mean, shouts out to my boss Derek Eagleton. They made a company suite available for employees that wanted to go, but you had a choice of one night. So I went last night. I missed Austin's fight, unfortunately, but I did get to see him come out and beat the crap out of Vince McMahon, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because that on Sat. I mean, last night seemed like it had plenty of stuff going on, because I do follow it. But the match on Saturday, Stone Cold returning after all those years, that seemed like it would have been pretty cool to be there in person.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like I said, I don't really keep up with it anymore. But 10-year-old me, I mean, Stone Cold and The Rock were like everything. So I was pretty bummed when I realized I was going to miss his match, but I at least appreciated WWE for, I'm sure they had a conversation where they were like, all right, Austin's got to come out both nights. Like, we're going to have a lot of unhappy people if half the audience doesn't get to see Austin. So, and like I mean, it's really cool. Like, I guess that's the third one I've been to, and I went to 30 in New Orleans. Austin came out that year. Hulk Hogan came out. The Rock came out a couple years ago when it was in Dallas for WrestleMania 32. So, like, almost by accident, I managed to see most of my, like, childhood wrestling heroes without really trying that hard. So this job will take you to some pretty cool places, I got to admit.
Yeah. Well, getting any chance to be 10-year-old you for just 5 minutes, I think, is worth it, because when you hit your 30s and 40s, they come around so very rarely.
It's so true, dude. Like those, and that's like it's hard to explain, like the adrenaline you got out of it as a kid, like when your favorite wrestler's music played, and like when Stone Cold's theme came on last night, I brought my buddy Mitch with me. And I mean, we were both jumping around like we were 10 years old again. Like I felt like my mom was going to come in from the other room and yell at me for being too loud. So it's, it's easy to be cynical and jaded as a sports fan, especially if you work in the industry and you kind of see the darker side of it from time to time. But it's really special when you get to have a pure moment like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, David, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again next week, and we'll jump even deeper into the draft and who your latest draft crush will be.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. The top 5 at 5:55 is next. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com. Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financials, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to ChampionSalonandBarber.com.
Top 5 championship game keys for tonight. Thanks to Champion Salon and Barber, Armstrong and I, we have the same barber, Cameron. We have something we can have in common now. So something I can talk to Cameron about. It's always good to have a topic for the chair. Although Cameron, I've known Cameron a while, so but you know, hey. So does Armstrong behave himself, or does he like cry? You know, like you ever seen a kid like going to get a haircut and they're just bawling the whole time?
Yeah.
Like they're ripping it up from the roots.
That's why I tip well. Because they have to deal with that.
You get scared.
I get scared, yeah. I mean, these are scissors, you know?
Yeah.
Come at your head.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Armstrong, please stay on for this because I'm curious your opinion. Number 5, top championship game keys, emotional momentum. What happens to it for the UNC team? Because Armstrong, you were there the other night. That was emotional, and I know the team can maybe compartmentalize better than the fans can, but still, I mean, it's in the air. I mean, they got a whiff of it.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I mean, that was the highest of all highs, and how can you kind of build up the energy to come back from that? On the other hand, though, there may be some sort of feeling within on the team of like, we just slayed Goliath, and so they're just so loose and, you know, feel nothing on their back anymore and just come out hot, you know? Mm-hmm. So it could go both ways.
Yeah, I think the energy levels will be something very interesting to see early on because, I mean, I just feel like there was such an energy dump on Saturday night that, I mean, if this was, you know, turning around and playing, you know, Boston College in a regular game, you might, you know, stumble a little bit. But being a national title game and knowing that they're the dogs coming into this against Kansas, I think that does allow them to, you know, get their mind corrected a little bit quicker. But if we saw a little bit of a hangover tonight, that wouldn't be surprising to me by any means. I don't think it would be for most people who watched what we watched on Saturday night. Hopefully that's not the case, though.
Yeah. Number 4, Kansas's depth. Mitch Lightfoot, Remy Martin. They can go 8 deep or so and throw different combinations of lineups at North Carolina, which I think it's not necessarily about the depth and the rest and the energy because North Carolina has gotten to this point doing what they're doing. But I do think it is the different ways that Kansas can mix and match things that North Carolina won't try to counter at all. They're 5 or they're 5. That's what they do. You know, they don't play a lot of bench minutes, hardly any at all, and only when forced to. So Kansas's ability to not only rest guys, but mix and match those lineups based on what's working, to me, will be a struggle for North Carolina and what might separate Kansas tonight before we kind of get into some of these other things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't view this as much of an issue as we did when we were talking about like Villanova and stuff. Yeah. You know, and their depth problems that were very evident against Kansas. I just think in general, depth or not, it's like our guest earlier said. I mean, KU's got 7 guys, North Carolina's got 6. You know, I think it's pretty much that. I just think in general, Kansas has way more firepower. Mm-hmm. You know, like so. You know, depth or not, I just think, you know, with what they do have, that just kind of puts them even further over the top. But just, yeah, you know, face to face, all things equal, Kansas has a lot more firepower.
Yeah. Number 3, foul trouble. You know, what do the refs call? Does Armando Bacot? Does Armando Bacot get in foul trouble? And if he does, you know, what does that mean for David McCormick? And how does UNC deal with that? And they're going to have to deal with his injury anyway in a second. We'll talk about that. But if North Carolina gets in foul trouble, Kansas can navigate it a little bit better. But if David McCormick gets in foul trouble, that means more time for Mitch Lightfoot. You know, if it's Mitch Lightfoot versus Armando Bacot, even at 75%, Armando Bacot's probably still going to dominate that matchup.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I get why officiating is part of the formula. I really wish it wasn't, but you know, I'm sure it will come into play tonight. And I just hope the Zebras get out of the way and realize we're not tuning in to watch them. So I don't need to see your quick foul call so you can set the example early on and tell us how the game's going to be dictated. Just let these teams play.
They called both games the other night were pretty good.
Yeah, so just keep that up and let both teams play, and hopefully we don't have to talk too much about that. I mean, it was a talking point the other night, obviously, guys getting into foul trouble. But, yeah, I mean, it's something you got to be wary of, and I just really hope we don't run into a situation where we're 10 minutes into the game, we're already talking about, you know, a key player having 3 fouls and changing the total direct. I understand that's part of the game, but sometimes it doesn't need to be as much of a part of the game as the referees make it a part of the game. So hopefully, again, they just let these teams play tonight.
Well, Duke, who is the player, Armstrong from Duke, that had 4 fouls in the first half?
Williams, AJ Williams.
Or was it Ivy? Not Ivy.
No. It's Theo John.
Theo John had 4 fouls in the first half.
Yeah.
Now, look, I don't blame that on the refs because the 2 fouls he committed, 3 and 4. Now, I don't remember the first 2.
Yeah, I mean, fouls are fouls.
But 3 and 4, like, he should have been off the court. You know, like that was Coach K's doing, and Theo John, just the fourth one was really dumb. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, you've got 3, you don't do that. But again, probably caught up in the moment. Number 2, KU's pace. If they can run the way they want to run, and North Carolina can run with them a whole lot better than Villanova. Like, part of the reason that Villanova lost the other night was that game had to go perfectly according to script for them to win the game. They could not let Kansas at any point run like they do. And that's what they have so many athletes, and they're so fast, and they can get out in transition. If Kansas can do this, now North Carolina can do it a lot better than Villanova can, but if Kansas can do this, they can dictate the pace of this game and run North Carolina out of the gym.
Yeah, I mean, are they shooting as hot as they were the other night?
Yeah,
that certainly go a long way. I mean, like when you don't miss, it's easy to go on a run and make the pace, unsustainable for the opponent. But I mean, KU's going to try to dictate the game tonight. I don't think there's any question about that, and have it at their pace. And if it goes that way, North Carolina falls in that trap, that's going to spell bad news for them, because I just don't think they're going to go toe-to-toe firepower for firepower with the Jayhawks or beat them at their own game. So, yeah, I mean, if KU starts, that's definitely going to be one thing I'm watching early, is just how hot do they start. Because if it's like the other night, man, then this could get kind of ugly. It really could.
Yeah. And number 1, the battle of the bigs, Bacot versus McCormick. McCormick was fantastic the other night. Bacot was great until he got hurt, and even then, toughed it out and played the rest of the game. But if Bacot has to play most of the game slowed, this is good news for David McCormick, who played, again, really well the other night. Again, this is a much better matchup. Even like you heard Matt Tate say, even at 75%, this could be a wash, which means the other things come into play here. But if Armando Bacot, pounding on that ankle and pounding on that ankle has to sit out for any stretch, this is something that completely turns in Kansas's favor.
Yeah, I hated seeing him getting hurt. That was just the timing of it really sucks. I mean, it really does. But yeah, I mean, it was a good matchup the other night. But hopefully he's as healthy as he can be, given that he's not going to be 100%. But yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to the bigs. I mean, we know North Carolina, they can rebound. I mean, there's going to be some battles on the boards tonight. So that should be quite the tussle down there with the big men. And I hope Bacot's got enough juice to be able to play close to his normal game, because man, the last thing you want to see is like injuries and fouls playing too much of a role in a championship game. We'll see on the fouls. The injuries are obviously going to have some effect, but hopefully not too much of one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Jack McKenzie. Thanks to Faith. Thanks to Emery. Thanks to Armstrong. Thanks to Adam Lucas, Matt Tate, and David Hellman. Smokey's back tomorrow. Again, the 2-year anniversary is on Wednesday. Got a bunch of special guests lined up for that show and more coming all the time. And once again, Matt Rhodes' new 10-year contract extension with Baylor that should keep him here through the end of his career. At least that's the plan. He is scheduled to be on the show tomorrow. For Craig Smoak, I'm Paul Catalina. Good night, everybody.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.